Ada for being mad at my wife saying breaking up with her ex was one of her biggest regrets to friend who is dating him. It's pretty much just the title. The other day, one of my wife's friend was talking to her about a guy she was dating. It just happened to be my wife's ex. The convo went to the friend having some doubts about the guy. My wife said this and I quote, "He is the sweetest and most wonderful guy. Breaking up with him is one of my biggest regrets." And my immediate response was excuse me, and it took my wife too long to catch on. She was like what? And it took her a while to process what she said. I told her never mind for now, and let her finish the convo with her friend. Granted, her friend left pretty soon after that. We talked about it, and honestly I'm still pretty pissed. She said she just got caught with it, and that she didn't really mean it. Honestly, it didn't make me feel any better to be honest. I've been keeping some space from her. Comments. Commenter 1. I bet her friend felt same way as you. Commenter 2. Probably why the friend left shortly afterwards. Commenter 3. For real man I would have been like Homer fading into the bush on that one. Update. It hasn't been good for our marriage. I feel so unloved by my wife right now. Honestly, ever since she said that, it feels like I just want to get further away from her. She still refuses to apologize, and keeps insisting that she didn't mean it that way. She told me she's getting sick of this. I really don't want to divorce over this of all things, and we are gonna go into counseling. I want to at least try, but damn, I have never felt so lonely in my life. I don't even want to look at her. Comments. Commenter. I would be done. It was hurtful itself but refusing to apologize would seal it for me. Commenter 2. Correct, this happened with my ex-husband. He betrayed my trust and I was hurt. Instead of apologizing he kept doubling down. He would rather be right than help me heal. Bye. Commenter 3. Heavy on the rather be right than help me heal. That kind of bullshit shows up when someone is trying to win a conflict. Like bro, our relationship is a partnership, not a competition. Commenter 4. How can you stay married to someone knowing that she cares so little for your feelings? Commenter 5. She won't even own up to what she said and apologize. Shows how little regard she has for OP and their feelings. Update. We are separated now. We have been having trouble finding a counselor that we are both comfortable with. And fights have happened more often. I gave up on my marriage once she said that her ex probably wouldn't be such a whiny baby and that she was right in regretting breaking up with him. I think she realized what she said and she tried to take it back. She said no, I'm sorry I didn't mean it. I was already halfway done with this marriage. After hearing that, I don't think we can come back from this. I'm speaking to a divorce lawyer. I feel terrible. I feel like an idiot. I feel so alone right now. I just don't know how to feel. Honestly, posting this helps a bit. Helps gets my thoughts together. Comments. Commenter 1. Listen to your lawyer. Focus on finding a counselor for yourself. If you can try to get away for just a weekend without her. Good luck. Reply. Well, thinking about it now, there was a counselor I liked that my wife didn't. Might go to them if they do individual sessions. Commenter 2. Yeah, when your marriage is already on life support over your comments about this ex, that follow-up statement basically amounts to pulling the plug. That was very much the wrong time to lose her temper in that way. Stories number 2. Aita for telling my sister that her family is not allowed in my house after her daughter ruined my cake. So, I recently got a promotion at work. I'd also had significant gut problems for years, but recently I finally got medication that started helping, and I was slowly able to start eating normal foods again. Overall, my life was finally starting to be good. So I decided to throw a small party for my closest family and friends. My fiancé and I made a huge cake together, putting a lot of time and effort into it. Neither of us can bake, so let's just say it was a lot of trial and error. Everyone showed up at 12 noon on Sunday and initially we spent time in the garden. My fiancé and I bought a large swimming pool, so many people sat in it and drank non-alcoholic drinks, and a few children played volleyball. Everything was great. My fiancé went to the basement, where we keep the second refrigerator, to take the cake out and carry it to the kitchen. Then it went like this. He left the cake in the kitchen and came to me to ask a few questions about where we were going to eat the cake, living room or garden. In the same time my sister's daughter, 6, said she had to go to the bathroom and went into the house. My fiancé and I entered the house together and went to the kitchen. My sister's daughter was already there, and the cake was lying on the floor while she stood on a chair, rummaging through one of the cabinets. No, we don't even keep food there. It's literally the cabinet where pens, notebooks, etc. are kept. I admit that at that moment I lost control of myself and shouted, "What are you doing?" Which made her fall off the chair. She started crying. My mother, who was in home at the time, appeared in the kitchen and somehow, from word to word, everything escalated. My sister and her husband appeared in the kitchen. When my sister found out her daughter had fallen, she started yelling at me, and her husband quickly became defensive. Finally I told my sister to take her child and husband and leave. I also told her that neither she, her husband, nor her child were welcome in my home anymore and that I had made a mistake in giving them this chance. We don't have a good relationship, but we tried to change that. Then the party went on for another hour. Luckily many people didn't know what had happened, and my fiancé ran to the bakery to get a cake, but I was too irritated so I apologized to everyone and asked them to leave. Now, my sister is bombarding me with messages. Even after I blocked her, she just started using our parents to give her messages to me. I received a photo of her daughter's knee with a bruise 20 times and many messages about me being an asshole. And a few more about how I should apologize to them for what happened. Stories number 3. My girlfriend doesn't know how much debt she's in and I feel like she's hiding things. Me and my GF have been together for 2 years. We live in my house, 70k debt left, 15-year mortgage, I'm the sole owner, and she only pays $150 to help towards utilities as my request. A few days ago I was talking to my 30F girlfriend, 32F, and jokingly said, "Do you have any secret debt that I'll find out about when we get married?" She said she doesn't have any debt, and that she always makes sure she repays the minimum credit card amount. I laughed and said that credit card repayments are debt, and she says no because she is paying towards it. I was shocked at how she could be so wrong and how financially ignorant she is. We're in the process of starting our NHS fertility journey and we have an appointment soon, and I have been saving for a while because I'm pretty sure we'll have to go private as a same intercourse couple. I asked her to save money for a baby fund too, and she started saving £20 a week, which I know she spent part of already. She doesn't have any savings. Today I asked her if she knows how much debt she's in. I don't know. Do you know an estimate? Is it 500? 1,000? 5,000? Yeah, something like that. Something like what? Like one of those numbers. I don't think she's hiding anything from me. I think she doesn't realize what debt really means. She thought I only meant money she stopped paying, which is insane. She was supposed to, according to her, move her 3 credit card debts to a 0% one, but the PIN to register didn't work or something like that. She's waiting for a new one. When did you register? When I went away to see my family. That was last November. I know, I've been busy. Okay, you don't have to tell me, but for your own good, can you please check how much do you owe for each card and the interest rate of each? I don't have access to my XXXX account because blah blah blah. Okay, what about the other 2 credit cards? Well, I don't use the app, but you do have an app you can log into and check. Yeah, but I don't use it. Why don't you check it then? I don't know. At that point I had to leave the room cause I didn't want to be mean. She says that she's sure her debt is less than 2k, but honestly I don't believe her anymore unless I see it with my eyes, but also she has her own right to not discuss it with me. I just mentioned that once we get married, her debt is my debt too, so I really need to know she's financially stable, educated. She has ADHD and is bad at timekeeping and money spending, but I didn't know it was that bad, and now I worry if this is something that can break the relationship. She started crying saying, "Is this why you don't want to marry me? I just don't like to be the center of attention, and now I've left the house to get some air and I know she's crying in the living room. Am I being irrational? Have I pushed her too much? How should I approach things next time we talk, and how can I help her with debt?" Edit. Thank you all so much for your advice. I sat down with her again and talked for a long time about why this is important and why she needs to tackle the issue ASAP. She told me she wants to be better with money and not have that weight in her shoulders anymore, and asked if I can help her. I explained to her that we could check her debt on Clear Score, thanks for the recommendation, and she agreed. She registered and turns out she has 5 credit cards and 8k in debt. It gave me a mini heart attack, but I didn't show it as I didn't want her to feel ashamed. She asked me, "Is this something doable then?" I said yeah, but it'll take you a bit longer than you said. 2 to 3 years might be more realistic than end of the year as you said. She told me she's going to give me her credit cards and give me access to all her accounts so I can track where the money is going. I'm a budgeting freak, and we'll have a financial meeting every fortnight. She also will transfer 5K of the debt, the one with the highest interest, to the 0% interest card she opened and then ignored, and tackle the rest for now. Baby fund is obviously dead now, but I think this has been a big wake-up call for her, as her dream has always been to be a mom, and she realized it won't happen if this doesn't get sorted. The good thing, if I can call it that, is that she wasn't lying to me. She honestly didn't know she was in so much debt, as after a certain amount she got anxious and didn't check, but she has never missed a payment at least. TLDR, my girlfriend doesn't know how much she owes, as she thought credit card debt is not department if you're repaying every month. Comments. Commenter 1. Oh boy. Just a reminder that marriage is a huge financial commitment to another person. It's not just I love her or it's what we're supposed to do. Really think hard if you want to be strongly financially linked to someone who doesn't know that credit card debt is debt. Commenter 2. I think this is more a relationship advice question than a financial one. You clearly know what you're talking about. She's understandably quite anxious and ashamed and avoidant about the topic. How you approach this is all about your relationship and how you navigate it. I would try and position it as you and her against the problem. You have the skills, you can help her out, you can do it together, and she can lean on you. Anything that feels more like you're judging her for getting into debt in the first place, or incredulous because she doesn't understand, is just going to come across like criticism and be upsetting. This isn't "I need to fix you," it's "if we do this together we can do all these great things." It needs to be about the consequences of not having debt, rather than the consequences of having it. Update. 3 months ago I posted here asking for some advice about my girlfriend's debt. To summarize, 3 months ago I realized my girlfriend not only was completely financially illiterate, e.g. she had no idea that paying a credit card was being in debt, she thought that was more like a big mortgage. I know, but also she was in credit card debt and she didn't even know how much she owed, as she was very ashamed and in denial. She had 5 credit cards, I was only aware of 2, not because she was hiding them but because they never came up in conversation, and was making minimum payments on all of them. Thanks to advice here, I signed her to Clear Score to check how much debt she was on, £8,250, all in plus 30% interest cards. My disappointment in her was her wake-up call. I am extremely money savvy and I have the savings to cover her debt if needed. But I've worked hard for it and I have made sacrifices, so it would have seemed undare. She never asked me to, for the record. She would also never learn that way, so I told her I'd help her by teaching her about finances, looking for better options to transfer the debt, etc., but the money sacrifice would have to be hers. We started by creating a version of the budgeting spreadsheet I use for my finances, because she didn't know how much she spent on different things. At first I'd go through her bank account with her and tell her where to write every transaction, twice a week. After a while, she was doing it weekly by herself, while I updated my own spreadsheet. We call them financial meetings, and we have a nice tea while doing it. After 2 months, we could see a pattern and tackle where the money goes. For example, she was subscribed to Prime, Netflix, Apple TV, Disney Plus, Now TV. And we basically only watch Disney, which I get free thanks to a Lloyd's perk, and Netflix, so she cancelled everything else. She's also transferred most of the debt to a 0% interest card, the debt with the highest interest, and stopped spending money on unnecessary things. Also, I know that you're supposed to tackle the debt first before saving, but I wanted her to have a little satisfaction of watching her savings grow, which previously were 0, and getting her into the habit of saving money for her future. So every month, on payday, I recommended her to send money to her savings account, and leaving it there, and pay for credit card debt, so she knows how much she has for the rest of the month. There's also little tricks for unnecessary spending, like she gave me all her credit cards so she can't use them. She deactivated Google Pay and contactless payment so she has to physically introduce the card and type the PIN to buy. This slight inconvenience makes her more conscious of the money she's spending, etc. The result? In 3 months, not only her debt hasn't increased like it was the trend before, but it's gone down to £7,000, and considering she's low income right now, I'm extremely proud. She's put around $1,700 into tackling her debt, although because only now we've managed to transfer her debt to a 0% interest card, the high interests ate a lot of that, and her savings are £400. Seeing that if she wasn't in debt she would have £2,100 right now makes her even more willing to clear this debt. I just wanted to let people know, especially people with partners that seem a bit irresponsible with money, that change is possible, but they also need support and trust and patience. I'm extremely proud of her and she's in the path of clearing everything way before Christmas 2026, which is the goal I set for her. Edit. Thank you for the good vibes after something we felt very vulnerable in sharing. And thank you for the encouragement and for sharing your own experiences. Knowing that other couples have been in our shoes and came out stronger is so reassuring. My girlfriend is over the moon with the support and nice words. Comments. Commenter 1. You sound like a great partner OP, and it seems like your GF really wants to sort this out and learn about finances now. All the best for the future. Commenter 2. What a great update. I remember your original post, and when I saw the new post I feared the worst. Well done to you both. Reply. Thank you. She's not on Reddit, but I showed her the original post comments, even the mean ones. She cried about one, and found the comments that wanted to give real advice very useful. I'll show her these ones too tonight for a bit of validation, cause she deserves a bit of recognition. She's changed her habits, which are really hard to change, overnight. It also took some patience from me, because sometimes at the beginning I just wanted to shout, how do you know this? Or why would you do this? Patience and understanding is key, but also not letting them play you. I told her a few times ADHD and your family background is an explanation of why it happened, but not an excuse to let it happen again. Stories number 4. Aita for not waking up a tourist who overslept and missed the day trip she paid for. Hi guys. I'm 21F, a Bulgarian tour guide who accompanies groups to Sicily. On a recent trip, one woman who was traveling alone, mid-30s, was consistently oversleeping. The first day after we arrived, we had a day trip to Etna and Taormina, for which we depart at 8 a.m., as we do all other day tours. I make sure that all tourists are informed of the departure times on the bus the day before, and they also have my number to call in case they forget so I can remind them. They also all have printed out pamphlets with the schedule made by the travel agency that I hand out that has the time for departure on it. All of the group was on time, except one woman. She was late by 10 minutes, which, okay, maybe she got caught up in something and was late. I excused it, then mentioned to the whole bus in the mic that I do not tolerate lateness beyond 15 minutes at most in case of emergency like a forgotten possession, and that I must always be called and informed in case someone is running late. Trip went by okay otherwise. The next day this same tourist was late again, by 25 minutes. Almost an entire half hour. I called her twice to no answer, and we were just about to leave without her when she came out running and got on the bus. She got lucky, as the receptionist of the hotel asked me about a missing piece of info on the rooming list and earned her some time. I reminded everyone again that I will not be waiting anymore for late tourists in the morning, and waking up on time is their responsibility. When we came back that evening, she asked me if I could make sure to wake her up on time. I reminded her a third time that I'm not responsible for waking people up. Everyone gets a printed itinerary with departure times, and I announce everything the day before. She kept saying, no, just knock on my door if I'm not out by 8:15, and I kept repeating I really can't do that for everyone, please set an alarm. Well, on the day we were visiting Syracuse, she didn't show up. I waited 15 minutes after the supposed departure time, called her twice to no response, then left with the bus and the rest of the group. She called me in a panic about an hour later asking where we were. I explained the situation calmly. She got angry and said that I had one job and that I cheated her out of the money she paid to go on that day trip. She missed the whole day trip and was furious the next day. Later she told the rest of the group that I abandoned her and also called my agency, leaving a bad review about me. Aita for not personally waking up a grown woman despite warning her multiple times I wouldn't. Stories number 5. My 28M friends coworkers, 20s MF, are mocking my wife, 22F, and our arranged marriage, not sure how to address or deal with this. My wife and I have been married for close to a year now. She was born and raised in India her entire life, while I have been raised here in America since I was 4 years old. As you all saw in the title, this was an arranged marriage, and I met her around 2 weeks before the wedding. Despite not knowing each other for a longer period of time, we have grown very close and I care for her deeply. My main group of friends, however, many whom I have known since college, have joked and made fun of our marriage, and my wife. For example, we were at a dinner party a couple months and my friends were talking about something. My wife then commented, but because she has a pretty pronounced Indian accent, she butchered a few words, and everyone laughed and began to impersonate and make fun of her. I could see how much this hurt her, and for the rest of the night she was silent and later on asked to leave early. This was the only time this occurred in front of her, but many times when I have gone out with my buddies they casually make fun of her accent, or her confusion when it comes to American traditions and customs, and every time I tell them enough, they say I'm just joking man, chill out, or don't take it so seriously. In addition, there have been a few times when I've gone out or talked with coworkers, and when they begin to talk about or complain about their relationships and I chime in, they basically ignore or make snide remarks regarding what I have to say. I specifically remember one time where a co-worker said, "What do you know about marriage? Yours is not even an actual marriage." I suppose I'm asking for help on how to deal with these sorts of comments, as I'm sure more will come throughout my marriage. My wife is naturally just very shy, so I know she won't try and defend herself when shit like this happens. She hasn't been able to make any friends since coming here, and refuses to come out with me because of my friends. I know she feels homesick at times, and I really want to help her come out of her shell because she's a wonderful person and her happiness is extremely important to me. So I suppose I have two questions: how can I deal with my friends and co-workers? And how do I help my wife gain more confidence and come out of her shell? TLDR, my wife and I are in an arranged marriage. My friends and co-workers have mocked and made fun of both her and our marriage. How can I deal with this, while also helping my wife feel better and more confident? Relevant comments. Commenter 1. How can I deal with my friends and co-workers? Firmly but politely. I'm just joking man, chill out. You might be joking but I am not. Don't take it so seriously. That is my wife you are talking about and I am taking it seriously. And how do I help my wife gain more confidence and come out of her shell? Are there any interests your wife has, and are there any clubs in your area that correspond to her interests? Are there Indian communities in your area? Also, you might want to do a fun activity together, like dancing, assuming she likes to dance. Or go swimming or cycling together. Preferably something outdoorsy. Reply: yes, in fact there is one Indian community club she has been interested in joining. I'm hoping she feels a bit more at home there. And she really enjoys cycling. I think that's an excellent idea. Thank you. Commenter 2. I have to agree, your friends sound like assholes. Have they never met or known anyone for whom English is a second language? Have they never traveled to a country they didn't know the language? I'm horrified they'd mock her accent. If you want to remain friends with them, then you're going to have to shut down those comments. I was joking. Answer: it's not a joke, it's very rude and hurtful. Your marriage isn't real. Answer: that's a rude comment. Why would you say something like that? Your friends seem unable to accept cultures and customs different than their own. Reply: I know this may sound weird, but this is the way they've always been. We've always joked around about race, and other stupid shit like that, and I never really took it seriously. I've only really started seeing how bad it is now that I see the way it affects my wife. Top comment. Commenter 1. You need new friends, these ones are awful. My coworker was from India and she had an arranged marriage and it was one of the sweetest relationships I've seen. Choose friends that respect you, not hurt you. Update. After reading through the comments on my previous post, it really surprised and shocked me how many people thought my friends were racist, bigots, or assholes. It struck a chord deep in me with how many outsiders had such a different perspective on the issue, where I thought I wasn't being firm enough and my friends were just ignorant in terms of the ramifications of their actions, whereas the vast majority of commentators thought they were just plain assholes and racists. I guess I was hoping if I was simply firm in my resolve, and told them in no uncertain terms if their disrespectful behavior were to continue we could no longer continue socializing, they would see the error in their ways and hopefully apologize to my wife. So yesterday, I asked them if we could all meet up to discuss something important, and after work we all went for drinks. Once we started talking, I told them how disrespectful they were being towards both my wife and I, and addressed how much it had hurt my wife to be made fun of just because of her accent and ignorance when it comes to American customs. I continued by saying that I understand we usually joke about these sorts of topics, such as race, but that I now realized how wrong it was and it all needed to stop. They did not take me seriously at all. Immediately everyone began commenting on how much of a bitch I'd become since getting married, and I was always so prissy and sensitive about shit we'd used to laugh about all the time. They continued by saying I never enjoyed myself anymore, and how I'd basically abandoned our group because I was always spending time with my wife. I was constantly trying to respond, or defend myself, but the fuckers kept interrupting me and wouldn't let me say anything. They also said I stopped partying like I used to, like what the fuck. Sorry, I'm not interested in getting shit-faced at the club every Friday night, we're not in college anymore. Then one of the guys says, are you being all uptight because you're not getting laid anymore? I'm surprised man, if my wife was as hot as, my wife's name, I'd be banging the shit out her every day. Then all of them fucking laughed like he'd made a hilarious joke instead of being a massive douchebag. After that I was done with them, and told them I no longer wanted to socialize with people who were being completely disrespectful and held bigoted attitudes towards my wife, then left. Once I got home, my wife immediately asked what was wrong. I suppose I must have still looked pissed off over what transpired. I told her how sorry I was over the way I handled the situation, and she would no longer have to deal with their mocking and bullying. She looked extremely guilty that I said this, and told me I didn't have to sacrifice my happiness and friendships just to please her, and I should continue hanging out with them if I really wanted to. I don't know, I'm kind of embarrassed to admit it, but I started crying like a baby. This woman, who'd left everything behind, her life, family, friends, to travel halfway across the world to a completely different country all on the promise that I would provide her with a better life, thought this entire situation was her fault, and was saying I should prioritize my happiness over her own feelings or well-being. It broke me, and made me realize what a selfish prick I was. So I spent over an hour convincing her this wasn't her fault at all, and that she should never believe my feelings are more important than hers, and whenever she is feeling hurt, or angry, she should express those feelings without ever thinking it was wrong to do so. I'm very saddened by how long I had allowed this to transpire, and have a ton of making up to do. Also, I just wanted to express my thanks Reddit. This was the main reason I posted an update. Your guys' comments really helped take the wool off my eyes and understand the reality of the situation. We're in a much better place now because of it, and I truly do appreciate everything, thank you. TLDR, got rid of my friends, you were right, they are a bunch of assholes. Final comments. Commenter 1. You're a good man, OP, and I know you will find friends who are not pricks and will not make fun of you and your wife. Reply. Thank you. And yeah, there are some really nice people I've met through my gym who have been nothing but kind to both my wife and I'm planning to hang out with them much more now. I'm really hoping I choose better friends this time around lol. Commenter 2. All of these guys are single right? Reply. Haha no actually. The one who made the intercourse comment is married, another is engaged, and the rest are single. Commenter 3. Wow, so that guy was also insulting his own wife with that comment. Classy. Reply. Yeah, he treats his wife like shit and cheats on her constantly. Have no respect for that man. Stories number 6. My boyfriend said I owe his mom a Mother's Day gift every year now. I know how this might sound, like I'm nitpicking or blowing things out of proportion, but I promise, I'm not the type to dramatize small stuff. I usually keep things to myself, bottle it up, maybe vent to a friend or scribble it down in a journal. But this? This has been bothering me since May, and I can't shake the feeling that something is off. So here's the situation. I've been with my boyfriend for about 8 months now. Things were going well in the beginning. He's funny, thoughtful in his own way, and we clicked pretty quickly. The kind of guy who knows your coffee order after a week and texts goodnight without fail. I wouldn't say we're serious yet, but we've had talks about the future. Like, moving in maybe someday, or what kind of pets we'd have. That kind of thing. Mother's Day was coming up, and we were just chilling on the couch when out of nowhere he asked, "So what are you planning to get my mom for Mother's Day?" I actually laughed because I thought he was kidding. Wait, your mom? I've never even met her, I said, kind of amused but also confused. He just looked at me, dead serious, like I'd said something shocking. Well, yeah, he replied, but she's really sentimental. She keeps everything. You should still get her something. I mean, we're dating. So she's kinda like your future mother-in-law, right? I blinked at him. Like, full-on cartoon-style blinking. Did he seriously just say that? Future mother-in-law. 8 months in. No meeting, no FaceTime, not even a wave through the door type moment. I haven't even seen a photo of her outside of his Instagram. I told him gently that I wasn't comfortable with that yet. I mean, isn't there a line somewhere between being thoughtful and pretending you're already part of someone's family? I said I'd be happy to bring a gift if I was ever invited to meet her, like flowers or cookies, but it felt too weird to go gift shopping for a stranger based on what ifs. He dropped it pretty fast that day, and I figured that was that. Maybe a little misunderstanding, no big deal. But then, her birthday started creeping up, and guess what he asked again? So, what are you getting my mom for her birthday? It felt like déjà vu. I reminded him again, still no meeting, no introduction, no phone call. He just sighed and said, "Yeah, but you didn't get her anything for Mother's Day, so now you owe her." That word hit me hard. Oh, like we were keeping score. Like he had mentally noted it somewhere and was now circling back to collect on a debt I didn't know I'd accumulated. And I froze, because that's not how relationships should work. I've done so much for him. Planned his birthday down to the last detail, bought him that limited edition vinyl he mentioned once in passing, talked him through his job stress, cooked dinner when he had migraines. You know, showing up, in all the quiet, uncelebrated ways people who care do. But now, here he was, acting like I'd skipped a test and now had to do extra credit to stay in the running for best girlfriend. It made me wonder, does he see me as someone he's building a future with, or as someone trying out for a role in his already scripted family drama? And here's the thing I can't let go of: I want to be respectful. I want to make a good impression when the time comes. But I also want me to decide when that's right, not because I'm pressured, guilt, or emotionally blackmailed into it. He keeps saying, "She'll love you. She'll appreciate the gesture." But a gift from a stranger feels hollow. It doesn't mean anything if there's no connection behind it. Isn't the whole point of those holidays about celebrating relationships you already have? Now I'm second-guessing everything. Am I being cold? Too independent? Should I just cave and send her a card or a candle to make things easier? Or is this one of those small red flags that points to something bigger underneath? Because if he's already deciding what I owe his mom, what else is he going to start keeping track of? And what happens when I don't deliver? Update. So things escalated a lot faster than I expected after I posted this. The day after the whole birthday gift conversation, I brought it up again, not in an aggressive way, but in a calm, "Hey, let's clarify this" kind of way. I told him I was genuinely surprised by the way he said I owed his mom a gift, especially since we haven't even been introduced, and I still have no sense of what she's like, what she might want, or how she even feels about me. I also pointed out that it feels really transactional to suggest I owe something to someone I don't even have a relationship with yet. Instead of seeing my side, he doubled down. He said, "You don't need to know her to show appreciation. It's just the polite thing to do. You say you care about me, so it shouldn't be that hard to show some care to the woman who raised me." I asked him if he planned to get my dad anything for Father's Day or even just say happy birthday, and he went, "That's different. I'm a guy." I didn't even know how to respond to that one. Different how? Because you're a guy. Does that mean all the relationship expectations fall on me? He followed up with, "My mom always told me that women are the glue in relationships. They're supposed to bring the family together." That comment honestly broke something in me a little. It made me realize that he sees me more as a traditional, womanly role, than as a person. I'm not against being thoughtful. I'm a very giving person in general, but not on demand, and not before a real connection is even formed. So I did something that I think caught him off guard. I said I wanted to slow things down. I told him that I'm starting to feel like I'm being pushed into a family dynamic that I'm not part of yet. I haven't met his mom, I've never even spoken to her, and yet I'm being asked to act like a daughter-in-law. And the part that stings is how little understanding he's shown about my own boundaries in this situation. He got really quiet after that. Then he asked me point blank, "Do you even see a future with me?" And I paused, not because I don't, but because I'm not sure I see a healthy one if things continue down this path. I told him the truth. I like you, a lot. But I also like being with someone who respects my pace and doesn't try to guilt me into things. That led to a pretty big argument. Not shouting, but emotional. He said I'm pushing his family away before even meeting them, and I said, "You're trying to insert me into something I haven't even been invited into yet." He ended the conversation by saying, "Fine. Do whatever you want. Just don't expect her to be excited about you if you're not willing to put in the effort." And I guess that was it. I left his place shortly after. We haven't broken up, but things are tense. He's not texting like he used to, not calling just to say hi. And honestly, I don't know how I feel about that. I'm relieved to not have the pressure of forced family obligations, but I'm also sad that he couldn't understand where I was coming from. And the irony? I would have been happy to do something thoughtful for his mom once I felt a connection. I'm actually really sentimental too. I would have loved to hand-make a little something, or bring her flowers the first time I met her. But not like this. Not because I was told I owed her. So now I'm here. Waiting to see how things unfold. Wondering whether this is just a bump in the road, or a sign that we're fundamentally mismatched when it comes to values. Update. It's been a few days since that uncomfortable argument, and the silence between us was deafening. No good morning texts, no what are you up to calls, just a flat, cold quiet. I'll be honest, it hurt. I thought maybe he just needed space, but after 4 days with no contact, I decided to reach out. I texted him something short but sincere. Hey, I've been thinking a lot. Can we talk when you're ready? He replied a few hours later with, yeah. Come over tonight. When I got to his place, he looked tired. Not physically, but emotionally. Like the whole thing had been weighing on him, too. We sat in silence for a minute before he finally said, I told my mom about our fight. I froze. I hadn't even met her and now she knew about our disagreement. He went on to say that he didn't tell her the full details, just that we had a fight because I didn't want to give her a Mother's Day gift. And, apparently, she wasn't mad. In fact, she told him that it wasn't my responsibility, and that if I did anything for her in the future, she wanted it to be genuine, not out of obligation. I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. I asked him, so, why were you pressuring me so hard, then? He looked embarrassed. He said, I guess I just built this fantasy in my head where you and my mom got along instantly. I thought this would be a good way to start that connection. But I forced it. That moment finally felt real. He admitted that he had projected a lot of expectations onto me, expectations I didn't sign up for. He said he grew up in a home where his mom was always the mediator, the nurturer, the glue of the family. And in his mind, which translated into believing I'd naturally step into that same role, no questions asked, I told him plainly, I'm not your mom. I'm not going to fill that role, and I shouldn't have to. If we build a family one day, we'll figure it out together, not by recreating old molds. He actually apologized. Sincerely. He said he respected how I handled things and that he now realizes how it came off, like he was more concerned about optics and expectations than about me as a person. We're not magically better now, but that conversation opened the door to something honest. I told him I'm still unsure about where we're headed because this wasn't just about a gift, it was about how we approach respect, pressure, and emotional labor. So we're kind of paused. Not broken up, but intentionally slowing everything down. We agreed not to talk about meeting families, holidays, or obligations for now. We're going to focus on each other, and whether or not this relationship as it really is, without fantasy or pressure, actually works for both of us. And truthfully, I still don't know the answer. But at least now I'm being seen for who I am, not who I'm expected to be. TLDR. After a tense argument about giving his mom a Mother's Day gift, my boyfriend told his mom about the fight, only to find out she wasn't expecting anything from me. He admitted he projected traditional expectations onto me and apologized for the pressure. We've decided to slow things down and reevaluate the relationship without outside obligations or assumptions. Still together, but carefully figuring things out. Stories number 7. My M32 wife, F28, told me she is bi and wants to explore for a year. What can I do to stop her from doing this? My wife and I have been married for 4 years. She has never said anything about being attracted to other women. Last week she sat me down and told me she is experiencing being attracted to women and would like to explore this. She said she would only do this for a year to get it out of her system. I'm not comfortable with this and am not sure how to handle this. I told her I didn't want her to do this, but she said she needed to or would otherwise start to resent me. I'm at a loss for how to handle this. She is the love of my life and I don't know that I want her sleeping with women. Comments. Commenter 1. So she wants to cheat on your marriage vows basically. Being bisexual isn't some magic not really cheating hack. I'm bi and have never had difficulty understanding that when I'm in a relationship it means I can't kiss other men nor women, because that is cheating. Commenter 2. Is she comfortable with you exploring other partners as well? She is basically asking for an open relationship, so you need to decide if this is for you or a marriage killer. Sorry. Reply, I don't think she would be. Commenter 3. You can't stop her, but you can file for divorce. Update. After seeing a bunch of comments that my wife may have cheated, I called her at work and talked with her. I asked what prompted this so suddenly and she was being short at first but eventually said she had slept with a woman on a work trip. Then confessed it was a couple, man and wife. She had gone to New York last month and met this couple and went to their room after drinks. I hung up the phone and haven't responded to any of her calls or messages. Right now I'm sitting in my office unsure of what I'm going to do. Thank you all for the comments. I really appreciate the support here. If anyone has some divorce tips, I'll take them. Comments. Commenter 1. Yeah, she was trying to make her cheating okay by stating she's now bi and wants to explore. She didn't care it would hurt you. Also, being bi isn't a free pass for non-monogamy. Plenty of bi individuals choose to be committed to one partner. You entered the relationship under the guise of a purely monogamous relationship. Her awakening doesn't mean you would have had to agree to her exploring. She was using it to manipulate. She wants to explore, she can do it on her own. I couldn't get past the betrayal and lies to cover it. Couldn't trust again. She's made it clear her priorities, and unfortunately, doesn't seem to be your marriage. Definitely lawyer up and figure out your options. ETA, also, if you have shared finances, separate them. Take your portion, not all of it just yours alone, and put it in an account under only your name. Have any wages to deposit in the new account. Follow what your lawyer says, but be sure to protect yourself. Commenter 2. Yeah, my wife is bi and we're monogamous. Effectively, her being bi at this point simply means she finds men and women attractive, and if we ever did divorce, her dating pool would be much larger than mine. It does not mean that she gets to have intercourse with women because that part of her sexuality isn't being catered to as a woman married to a man. Update. My wife cheated on me with a couple. I found out this morning. What should I do? I'm at a loss. I've been at work and have been having a hard time focusing. Tonight I'm going to stay at a friend's house. I still haven't talked to my wife since she told me the truth this morning. I'm pretty sure I'm going to leave, but I'm struggling with tearing my life apart and leaving her. Edit. Please continue to send pics of your dogs. Those are cheering me up. Comments. Commenter 2. Kids or no? If no kids, bounce 1000%. If kids, bounce 1000% but hire a good lawyer who has dealt with custody issues, just bounce. Stories number 8. I, 25F, live with my roommate T, 24F, and for the most part, she's honestly been a dream. She's clean, quiet, pays her rent on time, and we never really clash over household stuff. But the one thing about her that I've always noticed is how private she is. Especially when it comes to her dating life. And hey, I totally get it. Not everyone wants to parade their personal business around. So I've always given her space, but over the past couple of months, I started noticing little signs. Things that didn't quite add up. For example, a strange men's hoodie suddenly appeared on the back of our couch. I thought maybe it was her brother's or a friend's. I didn't say anything. But then it was 2 coffee mugs in the sink on a Monday morning, even though she hadn't said she had anyone over. A couple of times, I could swear I heard a man's voice coming from her room super late at night when I came home from my late shifts, but it was always soft and gone in a flash. I chalked it up to the TV. Then there were my snacks. I'm talking specific snacks. I'm a little obsessed with these imported Japanese strawberry Oreos. I keep them hidden behind the rice cooker because I know they're tempting. One day, I went to grab some and, the whole pack was gone. Gone. Not just a few, the entire thing. T said she hadn't touched them. Again, I let it slide. I figured maybe I ate more than I thought. But things just kept stacking. Fast forward to last weekend. We had planned a casual game night with a few friends, just 4 of us total. I told T about it earlier that week. She didn't say much, just that she might stay in her room and chill, which was pretty normal for her. Everyone arrives, we're a bottle of wine in, and we're playing Cards Against Humanity. Things are getting goofy. And someone jokingly says, "So, T, when are we finally gonna meet your imaginary boyfriend?" I was in a silly mood. I wasn't even thinking. I blurt out, "Oh, he's here." Probably hiding in her room eating my Oreos again. There's a round of awkward chuckles. But then, silence. I mean dead silence. We all slowly look up because, out walks a very real man. From her bedroom. In our apartment. Mid-game night, he looked like he just woke up, like a sim that just spawned out of nowhere. He had a pillow crease on his face and everything. We were all stunned. I honestly thought I was hallucinating for a second. This man looks at all of us, mumbles hey, and retreats back into her room. Nobody said a word. I just stared at T. And she looked furious. Later that night, she pulls me into the kitchen, away from everyone, and just goes off. She said I humiliated her, that I made her look sneaky, that I crossed a line. I kept trying to explain that I didn't even know he was literally in there. I was joking. It wasn't even directed at him. She never told me she had someone over, much less someone living in her room like a goblin in the walls. She said she wanted to keep her relationship private until she knew where it was going. Fine. But I live here, too. It's not about her relationship, it's about the fact that a whole stranger is in our apartment, multiple times, and I had no clue. We haven't really talked since then. It's been super tense. She keeps to her room. The guy still comes over, but now she's extra careful to sneak him in and out like we're all playing some weird grown-up version of hide and seek. And I'm sitting here wondering, did I really do something that wrong? I get that she values privacy, but isn't communication part of living together? She could have told me he'd be over that night. Or told me anything at all. I haven't apologized because honestly, I'm still confused about whether I even owe her one. I didn't plan to expose anything. It was just a joke. But now I'm the bad guy in our friend group because apparently, she told them I'm nosy and can't keep boundaries. TLDR, my super private roommate didn't tell me she had a boyfriend who's been secretly hanging out at our place. During a game night, I jokingly said her imaginary boyfriend was probably in her room eating my snacks. Turns out, he was. He walked out mid-joke, and now she says I humiliated her. But I didn't even know he was there. Am I really the bad guy for calling out what I didn't even know was real? Update. After that night, the entire vibe in our apartment shifted. T barely spoke to me for 2 full days. I mean like, full silent treatment. No good mornings, no have you eaten. Not even her usual passive-aggressive post-it notes reminding me to take the trash out. And honestly, the silence was deafening. We'd never had conflict before. Our dynamic had always been easy, even if we weren't the best of friends. But now, I could feel her anger seeping through the walls. I wanted to talk to her, to clear the air, not to apologize exactly, but to explain. I wasn't trying to expose her or humiliate her. I didn't even know the guy was there. But every time I knocked on her door or tried to say something, she either brushed me off or straight up left the apartment. By the end of the week, I decided to stop tiptoeing around. I waited until she was in the kitchen, and I just said, T, can we talk? I really didn't mean to embarrass you. I didn't know your boyfriend was literally here. I was just joking. She didn't yell. She didn't cry. She just turned to me, arms crossed, and said something I still haven't quite processed. You always joke at my expense. You think I don't notice, but every time someone says something about me, you pile on. You want to seem witty or funny or like the cool roommate, but you don't realize it makes me feel small. That kind of gutted me. Because the truth is, she wasn't entirely wrong. I have joked about her before, little things, mostly harmless stuff. Her love of reality TV, how she never leaves the apartment without an umbrella, her obsession with labeling everything in the fridge. And yeah, our friends laughed. But now I'm wondering if those laughs came at her expense every time. I apologized. Genuinely. Told her I didn't realize she'd been feeling that way and I'd be more mindful going forward. But she just shrugged and said, it's not about one moment. It's about feeling like I can't trust you to protect my privacy. That word, trust, stuck with me, because I hadn't broken a rule, but maybe I'd broken something else. Some unspoken agreement between roommates, that your home is your safe zone. That you can have weird quirks and secret boyfriends and late-night snacks and still not be a punchline. Now, here's where things get weirder. Later that week, I came home and the door to her room was wide open. No sign of her. But all her stuff. Still there. I texted her to see if everything was okay, and she replied with a short, went to stay at Jake's for a while. Jake, the secret boyfriend, finally had a name. I didn't know how to respond. Was this her way of punishing me? Avoiding me? Or just needing space? I was starting to feel like I'd stumbled into a much deeper issue than I'd ever realized. And the tension didn't stop there. Since then, she's been treating the apartment like a hotel. Comes in, grabs a change of clothes, then leaves again. No talking. No eye contact. Not even small talk. She even missed paying her half of the Wi-Fi last week, which she's never done before. I feel like I'm being iced out of my own home. And every time I sit in the living room, I wonder, is Jake gonna pop out of her room again? Am I being watched, tested, resented? But here's what really messes with me. I don't know if I crossed a line, or if she's using this whole thing as an excuse to distance herself from something deeper. Maybe she was embarrassed, sure, but this level of avoidance feels almost like she was waiting for a reason to pull back. Maybe because she was never comfortable with me in the first place. Or maybe because I reminded her of something she doesn't like about herself. Either way, this isn't over. Not by a long shot. Update. After that night, the tension in our apartment was thick. T didn't speak to me for 3 straight days, not even a good morning or hi in passing. I was honestly shocked that she was that upset over something I didn't even mean maliciously. But since we had lived together for almost 2 years and generally had a good dynamic, I decided to try to clear the air. I knocked on her door and asked if we could talk. She agreed, a bit coldly, but at least she was willing. I started by apologizing, not because I thought I was totally in the wrong, but because I truly hadn't meant to embarrass her. I told her it was a joke, that I genuinely thought the guy had left already or wasn't real, and that I didn't think anyone would take it seriously. She was quiet for a bit before sighing and saying she gets it now, but in the moment it felt like I exposed her on purpose. She admitted she'd been feeling awkward introducing him to our group of friends because they tend to be a little intense and opinionated. She also said she felt like her space had been compromised, not because I said something, but because she got caught in a situation she wasn't ready to share. Then she surprised me. She said the guy had actually been practically living at our place for the past 2 weeks. That explained the snacks, the random clothes, the bathroom towel that mysteriously appeared and wasn't mine. She said she hadn't told me because she was afraid I'd be annoyed or ask him to leave. That part stung a bit because I've always been open with her about any of my guests and tried hard to keep a respectful roommate vibe, so I was honest with her too. I told her I wasn't trying to control her dating life, but if someone is literally living in our apartment, I deserve a heads up. Not just for the snacks or dishes, but for safety and privacy, too. I reminded her that I pay just as much rent and deserve to know who's in our shared space. In the end, we agreed on a few new boundaries. If she's going to have someone over for more than a night or 2, she'll let me know. I'll be more mindful about my jokes, especially if I don't know what's going on behind the scenes. And yeah, we're still working on rebuilding the trust after that incident, but at least we're talking again. I think the biggest lesson I learned is that no matter how comfortable you feel with someone, communication isn't optional, it's everything. Jokes can hit wrong. Assumptions can lead to drama. And privacy is fine, but not when it infringes on someone else's living space. TLDR, I jokingly exposed my roommate's secret boyfriend during game night, not knowing he was literally hiding in her room. She was humiliated, we fought, and after some awkward days, we had a real talk. Turns out he'd been unofficially living with us without telling me. We cleared the air and set better boundaries, and while we're still repairing the awkwardness, we're on better terms now. Stories number 9. My boyfriend's best friend threw him a surprise party, and didn't invite me. I showed up anyway. Was I wrong? I, 27F, have been dating my boyfriend Jake, 28M, for just over a year. It's been mostly great. We laugh a lot, we've taken trips together, met each other's families, things have felt stable. But there's always been this one weird factor in our relationship, his best friend Tessa. She's been in his life for years, like since middle school. They claim it's always been platonic, and maybe that's true, but there's just always been this vibe. Tessa is everywhere. She comments on all his social media posts, texts him memes all day, and even still buys him birthday gifts with little inside jokes on the card. She once sent him a care package when he got sick, and I was literally the one taking care of him. I've tried not to be that girlfriend. I've invited her along for dinner, been friendly, even laughed at their weird shared jokes. I won't lie, it stung sometimes, but I pushed it down. Jake would say things like, she's like a sister to me, or she's always been like this. So I told myself to let it go. Then came Jake's birthday. I had plans to bake him a cake, maybe take him out to dinner. Low-key stuff, since he told me he wasn't really into birthdays. So imagine my confusion when I get a text from his roommate around 5 p.m. that day saying, "Hey, you heading to, bar name, soon? Should be fun." I literally stared at my phone, wondering if I was missing something. I texted back, "What's at, bar name?" He replied, the surprise party. Tessa planned it. Wait, you didn't know? No. I did not know. My heart sank. I tried to play it cool, saying, "Oh, just got the message." But inside I was already spiraling. Why wouldn't I know about this? Why would his best friend, who knows we're together, not invite me? I even double-checked my texts, thinking maybe I'd somehow missed something. But nope. Nothing. I decided to go. I wasn't about to miss my boyfriend's birthday celebration, especially one I was being deliberately excluded from. I threw on a dress, did my makeup, and walked into the bar about 20 minutes after it started. The second I walked in, I saw the look on Tessa's face. Pure shock. Not excitement. Not happiness. Just this wide-eyed, awkward "oh." She actually said, "Oh. I didn't know, roommate, told you." No sorry, I forgot to invite you. No oops, must have slipped my mind. Nothing. I smiled and pretended everything was fine. I found an empty seat and just existed. I spent most of the night talking to one of Jake's cousins, who was also clearly confused by the weird social tension. Meanwhile, Tessa was front and center the entire night. Giving toasts. Passing around cupcakes she personally made. At one point, she literally gave a speech and said something like, "No one gets Jake the way I do. He's like my other half, not in a romantic way, of course, but you know what I mean." I felt like I was in a movie. Like I had accidentally walked into a parallel universe where I wasn't Jake's girlfriend, but just some rando crashing the party. Jake didn't notice. At least not at the time. He came over, hugged me, said he was surprised but happy to see me. He had no idea I wasn't originally invited. When I told him the next day, he seemed confused, and honestly, not that bothered. His exact words, "I said, but it was a surprise party. I couldn't have known." He just kind of shrugged and said, "It's not that deep." I haven't been able to let it go. Not just because of Tessa, though yeah, I think she purposely didn't invite me, but because Jake didn't seem to care. Or at least, not enough. If the roles were reversed and my guy best friend threw me a party and didn't invite Jake, I know he'd be livid. And rightfully so. The worst part? I feel guilty. Like maybe I did overstep by showing up uninvited. Maybe I should have just stayed home and let it be their night. But I keep coming back to this, I'm his girlfriend. Why wouldn't I be there? I haven't talked to Tessa about it. Part of me wants to ask her straight up why I wasn't included. Another part of me doesn't want to give her the satisfaction of knowing she got to me. Because I know she did it on purpose. I've seen the way she acts around me, overly nice, overly sweet, but always with this undercurrent of "I was here first." Jake says I'm imagining things. But am I? TLDR. My boyfriend's girl best friend planned a surprise party for his birthday and didn't invite me, his girlfriend. I found out from his roommate and showed up anyway. She seemed surprised and offered no explanation. Jake didn't see the big deal, but I feel humiliated and excluded. Wondering if I overstepped by showing up or if I had every right to be there. Update. So, a few days after the party, I was still stewing over the whole situation. It wasn't just about not getting invited, it was how intentional it all felt. Like, I could understand if T genuinely forgot to include me, but her reaction made it clear that wasn't the case. There was no surprise in her face when I arrived. Just irritation. And her comment, "Oh. I didn't know, roommate, told you," felt more like a complaint than an acknowledgement. I finally decided I couldn't just let this fester. So I asked my boyfriend if we could have a real conversation, not just a brush off like last time. He sighed like he knew it was coming, which only irritated me more. I asked him plainly, "Did you know T didn't invite me? And if you didn't know, does it bother you that she didn't?" He paused, too long. Then he said, "She told me she was keeping it small, and I figured she had reached out to you separately." When I told him she hadn't, and that I only found out because his roommate texted me, he finally seemed a little alarmed. Wait. You mean you were never on the guest list at all? I told him about how uncomfortable I felt during the party. How T basically made it about their friendship with that speech. How I sat alone like a random stranger while his closest people celebrated him. And he had the nerve to say, I think you're reading too much into this. She's just expressive. You know how she is. I told him flat out that I didn't think it was normal or okay for someone's girlfriend to be excluded from a surprise party, especially one organized by a female best friend who's always had an overfamiliar tone with him. He didn't say much after that, except that he'd talked to her. So I waited. 2 days went by. Then 3. Nothing. Eventually, I messaged T myself. I was polite, direct. I said something like, hey, I just wanted to clear the air. I was surprised to find out I hadn't been invited to the party and it made me feel really excluded. I'm not trying to start drama, but I hope we can be more mindful in the future. She read the message within minutes and didn't respond. At all. It's been over a week now. Still nothing. My boyfriend says he brought it up to her, and that she feels bad, but he clearly hasn't pushed for any kind of apology or accountability. And that bothers me. A lot. I've started noticing other little things now, like how he's always quick to defend her, but not me. How she's always looped in on his weekend plans before I am. How she sends him TikToks about ride or die friendships at 2 a.m. while I'm literally lying next to him in bed. Last night, I told him point blank, I don't think I'm being treated like a priority in this relationship. And he said something that's been playing in my head ever since. You're making me choose between you and one of the most important people in my life. But I never asked him to choose. I asked him to respect me. To acknowledge that what happened at that party wasn't okay. That being the girlfriend means I deserve a seat at the table, literally and emotionally. Now I'm sitting here wondering, if someone makes you feel like an outsider in your own relationship, are they even really in it with you? Final update. It's been a couple of weeks since I last shared what happened. Since then, everything's shifted, not in a dramatic, screaming match kind of way, but in a quiet, heavy realization that things just weren't going to get better. After our last conversation, where he told me I was making him choose, I pulled back. Not in a spiteful way. I just stopped fighting to be heard. I stopped reminding him to include me, stopped checking in when he'd say he was just grabbing a drink with tea, stopped waiting up at night when he came home later and later. I think he noticed, maybe even panicked a little, because he suddenly became more present. He brought me flowers one evening, offered to cook, even suggested a weekend trip. But it all felt like a patch over a deep crack. Like he was treating the symptoms, not the wound. The thing is, I didn't want flowers. I wanted to be chosen. I wanted to be someone he stood up for, not someone he quietly asked to shrink in the presence of someone louder, more important, more permanent in his life. T never apologized. Never messaged back. And he never pushed her to. He kept telling me, that's just how she is, like that made it okay. But what he never asked was, how are you? That hit me. It wasn't about the party anymore. It was about being invisible in my own relationship, the kind of love where you're technically there, but never really seen. So I left. I packed my things slowly over the course of a few days. No drama. Just clarity. I moved back into my sister's place for now. When he came home and saw my empty side of the closet, he just stood there. He asked, "You're really going?" And I said, "You never made room for me, not in your party, not in your friendships, and definitely not in your heart." I just finally accepted it. He didn't say anything. Just stared. I wish I could say he ran after me, begged me to stay, promised to change, but he didn't. And that told me everything. I'm grieving, yes. But also, I'm healing. I'm slowly rediscovering that being alone isn't the same as being lonely, not when you're finally at peace. I deserve to be with someone who doesn't make me feel like a guest in their life. And I will be. TLDR. My boyfriend's best friend, T, threw him a surprise birthday party and purposely didn't invite me, his own girlfriend. He never stood up for me and downplayed the whole thing. After a series of emotional conversations and no accountability from either of them, I realized I wasn't being valued. So I left. Quietly, painfully, but with clarity. I deserve better than being an afterthought. Stories number 10. Aita for moving out after my sister's boyfriend joked about killing my partner. I, 21F, have been with my boyfriend Leo, 27M, for 3 years. My sister Sophie, 22F, has been dating Jake, 27M, for about 3 months. Due to financial stress, Sophie and I were both moving back in with our parents. Leo was coming with me, but Jake wasn't supposed to move in, just help Sophie pack and move her things. The night before the move, Leo had just finished a late shift, around 1 to 2 a.m., and was packing. I had reminded Sophie multiple times to leave out the packing tape since Leo would need it and didn't want to disturb anyone. She forgot. Leo knocked on Sophie's door at about 1 in the morning to ask for the tape. No answer. He knocked again, a bit louder. Suddenly, Jake stormed out, screaming and threatening to fucking snap Leo's neck. Leo didn't respond with aggression, he just stood there trying to de-escalate and protect me if things got worse while Jake continued spitting out threats to my partner. I was terrified and told Jake I would call the cops if he didn't back off. Later, Sophie blew up at me, texting that she'd rather be homeless than live in a house with Leo and accusing me of defending the wrong person. I was stunned. Jake got drunk and violent, and Leo stayed calm. For context, Sophie and Jake had been getting completely out of it most nights, mixing psychedelics and alcohol to the point of being practically non-functional. It wasn't just a party night here and there, this is their norm. So, when Jake flew off the handle that night, it didn't feel like a one-off to me. Leo even apologized, over text, for packing so late and said he didn't want bad blood. No response from them. The next morning, Jake and Sophie were openly laughing and talking in detail about how if Sophie hadn't held Jake back, Leo would be dead. They treated it like a joke. During the move, Leo politely asked Jake to apologize for scaring me. Jake refused, claiming he did nothing wrong. He eventually gave a sarcastic sorry and left before I could respond. When I talked to my parents, they dismissed it, saying drunk threats don't mean anything and that I was overreacting. But, my parents would often invite unstable people into our house, sometimes high or worse, and, being the youngest and smallest, was almost always the one that was ignored, beat up, or even molested because my parents didn't listen to signs of what they wanted to do to me. Staying silent about red flags feels wrong. I was told Jake would still be around constantly, even if not officially living there, since he's my sister's boyfriend. I had a panic attack and excused myself to leave so I could calm down and complete the move. Sophie did move in, and now my parents are fine with Jake being there all the time, sleeping over there every night, even when Sophie isn't home. He's not living there, but stays as long as he wants. So, Leo and I have now moved in with his family instead. Additional context, Jake supposedly fully owns a house, free and clear that Sophie has never seen because there's no furniture yet, and just recently stopped being homeless as a result of his purchase. I find this hard to believe since I don't know how he bought a house before even buying a car here in the US. He has also been unemployed for the past 2 months and spent every last cent on that house, so I have no idea how he's been affording other amenities. In addition, he keeps claiming he served in the military, but won't say which branch or where he went on tour. He's about my size and I'm underweight, so it's hard to believe, but I already know so little about the military, so it feels wrong to outright accuse him of lying. So, Aita for taking threats seriously. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, NO. Jake seems like an awful person. More concerning is your sister wants to be with him. Reply, she's been in a lot of terrible relationships, mostly with unemployed dudes that just leech off of her, but this one just takes the cake. She told me she believed they were soulmates not too long ago. Commenter 2, you did the right thing and you need to go NC with all of them. Your parents have no issue with you being abused under their care as a child. They don't deserve to be in your life. Your sister is clearly a product of their upbringing, seeing nothing wrong with that behavior, and seeking it out in a partner. They don't bring anything good to your life. Start a new life and family with Leo, who seems awesome, and leave the abusers behind. Reply, I guess I was partly hoping they would have changed after all of the time I spent away from them. I moved out when I was 17, but the fact that shit hit the fan before I even moved in with them, while my relationship while I was away with them was so positive, cut deep. Anticipating going back for the rest of my things makes me a little sick. I've been enjoying the past few days with Leo's family anyway. They have a baby and a kitten, so I've been well distracted. Smiley face. What were OOP's parents and sisters' reactions to her moving out? Reply, I'll update when they do contact me, but I don't think it'll happen. I said goodbye when I left, but maybe they were too distracted to realize what was happening. It's been 3 days and I haven't gotten a text. My guess is that they don't believe that I'm actually committing to living with Leo's family and are just waiting for me to come back. Granted, I would disappear for weeks couch hopping with friends as a teenager and they didn't care enough to message me then either, and would also just wait for me to come back. Commenter 3, NTA. It doesn't matter if he was under the influence of substances. He still got extremely angry and threatened your boyfriend. And then won't even apologize, and your sister and him treat it jokingly? Very disrespectful, and they do not sound like safe people to live with. Reply, my partner was putting in so much effort to be polite during the move because he thought he was going to leave at the end of it. We were both tolerating it because it felt unfair for my sister to not have help, but they kept the lie going for the entire move until my sister and Jake started relaxing and stopped helping us unload. OOP on if Jake is really working or not. Reply, he is definitely lying and it's frustrating me so much that my family isn't asking for proof of anything. Not even questions. He's claimed to have had 8 interviews in the past week and he failed every single one. No callbacks. I don't even know how the fuck he's been getting to them, considering he has no car, not even a bike. My sister couldn't have driven him because she works 40 hours a week. The reason why he got fired from his most recent job is because he was smoking weed next to the front, customer-facing door of the building on shift and his manager walked outside. What caused OOP, Leo, and Sophie to move back to OOP's parents' house? Reply, Sophie, Leo, and I were all living together a house that our landlord decided to sell. Jake was there because they were hanging out all day, and then my sister asked if he could sleep over since he was just going to help with the move in the morning, and I said yes because I thought they deserved the rest before a difficult move. After the argument my sister spammed me, for literal hours until I had to turn off my phone so I could sleep, saying how much she hated my partner. That he shouldn't have been packing at night and he should have waited until the day of and for her to wake up because of her mistake of taking all of the packing supplies into her bedroom. She wasn't waking up to any phone calls or texts beforehand. Leo felt awful about having to physically bother them at all. OOP on Leo's family and Jake's military background. Reply, Leo's family is on my side on this, if not more. In addition to thinking my family is delusional, they believe Jake never served in the military and is still homeless, lying to try and stay off the streets because my family has specific respect for military service. Commenter 4, I'm shocked you are even still talking to your parents. Having read your comment, my parents would often invite unstable people into our house, sometimes high or worse, and, being the youngest and smallest, was almost always the one that was ignored, beat up, or even molested because my parents didn't listen to signs of what they wanted to do to me. I don't think you should have contact with them or your sister. These are not people who are going to protect you or keep you from harm. Just because they are family, doesn't mean you have any obligation to remain in contact with them. Reply, about 2 years after I moved out, my mom had invited me on a trip. Just the two of us. We spent about a month together, and she had given me a long apology about how she had regretted the way she had treated me as a child. That I was so independent and so functional, that she felt the need to focus on my, genuinely, no offense, far less traditionally successful siblings. That I was more mature and intelligent than she would ever be, and she was proud to have raised me that way. And then this happened lol. This may be the last straw. How did OOP and Leo meet and their age gap? Reply, we met when I started going to college, and started dating when I was 19 and he was 24. Why do you ask why I'm with him? We have a lot in common and have enjoyed being around each other and going out together. They're a person with traits that I like and admire. Update. Firstly, I decided to reach out to some long-distance family members, my aunt, and my brother. My aunt has talked to my mother over the phone every day for 21 years, 3 times a day. I called my aunt and she was strongly supporting me. She said that, after I left that day, my mom had called her first. Despite this, and listening to Sophie's side of the story, my aunt was furious, asking what the fuck is wrong with you? Attempting to challenge Jake's status as a homeowner, a veteran, and now apparently a college graduate. He was supposedly honorably discharged in the army, and my mother got too heated to answer any more interrogation questions, even going so far as finding holes in their version of the story, lying about Leo bursting into the bedroom, while they were naked and sleeping, screaming for the tape. Apparently, they had claimed earlier in the conversation that they heard my phone calls and Leo quietly knocking and hoped we would realize they would want to be left alone. In retaliation for my aunt disagreeing with her and upsetting Sophie, my mother threatened to destroy the business they have co-run successfully for decades, telling my aunt she would fire the entire staff. That my aunt needs to tell me I owe my mother and Jake an apology. My aunt responded by saying she has never threatened my mom like that and would not be contacting her, until my mom decides to apologize to me. As for my brother, I sent him a text message briefly explaining what happened. He immediately decided to call our mother and tell them that was unhinged and unacceptable. Sophie gave him presumably the same flourished details as my aunt and he cross-examined us with some questions, before coming to the conclusion that he couldn't known what have happened, but, if what I had said was true, that leaving was the right decision. And when Leo went back for our things, I stayed in the car, with the windows cracked in case anything escalated. My father walked out and said, "Hey, I'm sorry about how this worked out and nobody was gonna fight, but we're not gonna kiss OP's ass." He went inside after that. I heard my mother start shouting at Leo, but not about him. She said she was sorry at first, before professing that she tried so hard to make the move work, that there wasn't going to be a fight. She ranted about how I ripped apart the family and ruined her relationship with her sister. She said I was a backstabber, and warned Leo that I burn everyone and that I would betray him too one day. That I'll die alone because of this, and that he's the only person I haven't hurt in that way. I saw Leo bursting a blood vessel in his brain trying to hold back from responding. I requested him to, and he just kept repeating that she should talk to me about these things. She rushed up to Leo as he was leaving to demand that I ask my aunt to keep talking to her and fix things between them. Lastly, she told Leo the first was welcome back anytime. After getting into the car, Leo mentioned that my mom seemed off, and my parents, sister, or Jake have still not contacted me directly. This experience deeply hurt me, so I called my aunt again. We somehow got on the topic of my other sister who my mom told me passed from a drug overdose years ago. My mom said it was my late sister's fault, repeatedly. That she made poor decisions and was irresponsible. I didn't question it, because my sister had struggled with drugs, but, then my aunt corrected me. After my sister's autopsy, they found nothing in her system but a smoothie and date rape drug laced with fentanyl. It was determined it was murder, and a man was imprisoned after a confession. My mom knew all of this, and my aunt thought she told me the truth. I know this isn't related to the original Aita, but I'm so emotionally floored to ignore such a fucked lie at the moment. Her real name was Carly. She was my sister, and she struggled with drug abuse for a long time. She did my makeup and kissed my scars, telling me to stay strong and to not let anyone hurt me, even myself. She loved watching The Bachelorette and was always so photogenic, so bright, no matter the candid. She hoped to be a dentist one day. My parents failed in supporting her in so many different ways I don't even know if should expound, and she ended up estranged and homeless. However, after completely relocating, she was able to find a home with a sugar daddy situation and a job for about 6 months. And Carly was planning on going to work that morning, sober, something she wasn't always able to accomplish. Continuing to build up her life. And my mother's lie made everyone in my family believe that she stopped trying. My sister's name was Carly and she was putting in effort to make things better. And that was taken away by no goddamn fault of hers. I want people to know her name, who she was, and how hard she fought. What is disturbing me about this? We do not share fathers, as hers, my mother's late husband, died from medical malpractice, and was getting some sort of regular payout that I was never given full details for other than it being yearly salary significant. This was given to my mother, my brother, full blood to the late husband, and Carly. She had no beneficiaries, so my mother has now inherited her payout. It makes me consider if it's why my mother handled her addiction so abysmally, and, regardless, pisses me off that she is being rewarded for it. I have no clue how, or if I should tell my brother and Sophie. My sense of humor wanted to title this update Wipta if I didn't tell my siblings if our mom covered up our sister's fucking murder. I just think it's really contributing to my decision of not going back. Over. Leo, his family, and my aunt have been absolute angels to me throughout this entire situation. Leo basically moved all of my things while I spoke to my aunt and processed what I learned, and his family cooked me dinner. The conversations with my aunt have been intense, but when unrelated to this situation, have been so uplifting, funny, and pleasant. Leo is an author and incredible with words, and is still almost at a loss. They keep hoping they're doing enough for me, but I'm attempting to reassure them that a place to live is far enough. And yes, I am seeking therapy, and thank you all for your support. Your kind words, reassurance, and advice have done wonders these past few days that I hold so much gratitude for. Top comments. Commenter 1, so your family is troubled to say the least. I'm glad you're out of there because I don't think your mother should be trusted and you should say something to your surviving siblings. Commenter 2, I wouldn't tell Sophie about Carly, but I would tell your brother. He deserves to know that his sister didn't F up, someone took her life. There was no chance to save Carly from herself, because herself wasn't the danger, the murderer did that. I am so sorry your family has failed you so badly. I'm on the drop Sophie and your parents' train. They bring nothing positive to your life. Commenter 3, why tell your sister anything? She's delusional and will likely just look at this as your fault somehow. Honestly, if half the things in this post were done by my family I wouldn't talk to them ever again. For your own sanity you should just walk away. Commenter 4, I think it's clear your aunt knows her sister so well, she takes your mom's words with 1,000 grains of salt. I wish you and Leo days of sunshine and nights of a million stars. Good luck, OP. Stories number 11. 48F, looking for advice on how to say hard truths to my adult son, 21M. I'm 48F. My adult son, 21M, recently let us know that he wasn't going back to college in the fall because it's not the right path for him. He had been agonizing over telling us and had thought about more permanent and tragic ways to not have to tell us. He finally got up the courage and tremblingly spoke to us, and then broke down in heavy tears when we told him it was okay, that college isn't the only way, and it will all figure it out together, as long as he was safe. We used our connections and was able to get him a position at a local company nearby, making a surprisingly generous hourly wage for a first job. Our AC has worked there for less than 2 weeks, spent some time with some peers after work the other day, and then messaged desk saying he was calling in sick the next day and would it be okay if he just quit that job and went to therapy instead. I told him that therapy is absolutely 100% always a go, but that we would need to discuss quitting. I've been trying to figure out what to say because I'm feeling like this is how 50-year-old adults who never left their parents' house start. But I know that's an unkind thing to say. I want to let him know that him getting this position was a unicorn because most people out there are having trouble finding jobs as it is, let it go let alone the cushy high-paying one we were able to get him. We will not be able to perform such a magic feat again, he'd have to figure it out on his own. For reference, he is very high-functioning autistic, and is able to care for himself in all ways. Is it okay if I tell him that we handed him a college education, then we handed him a career, but we can't endlessly hand him things so easily? I don't want to handicap him. TLDR, adult son quit college, was handed a job, wants to quit the job, and now I'm looking advice on how to give him gentle but also tough love. Stories number 12. Aita for telling my dad and his fiancée how I really feel, sending my dad into a deep depression. I know the title sounds super bad but hear me out. Throwaway because some cousins know my main. I, 18M, am an only child. I live with my mom full-time, my parents are divorced. Some quick context. During my entire life my mom always picked up after me and my dad. They both worked full-time, but my mom handled breakfast, lunch, dinner, groceries, cleaning, laundry. What did my dad do? Mow the lawn, shovel snow, fix things like the sink if it ever broke. When I was younger I always loved my dad, 'cause he would do fun things with me. Take me to sports games, play with me in the yard sometimes, buy me McDonald's or ice cream. He was the fun parent, and my mom was the caring one. She always made me food, helped me in school, packed my bags, comforted me when I was sad and took care of me when I was sick. When I got older I started to realize more and more how much my mom did, while my dad would sit on the couch and watch TV or stuff like that. My mom asked me when I was quite young to help her out with cleaning etc., and I remember I would get mad at me when she asked. I didn't want to clean, who does? But one day after she had gotten annoyed I didn't even pick up after myself, I yelled at her to leave me alone. I was probably like 12, and that day I heard her cry in the bathroom afterwards. When I realized I made her cry, it clicked in my head that she was doing everything for us and Dad did barely anything. And I did absolutely nothing at all. It felt like I grew up super quickly over the course of a week, and I started helping my mom a lot more. It became a bonding thing for us, talking and helping each other out with cleaning and groceries etc. My dad was still like the fun parent, would take me to games and all that, but I grew more and more annoyed that he didn't help out at all. I think when I was like 14 I once said to his face that he never helps out around the house, and he got furious with me. Yelled in my face and sent me to my room. My mom comforted me and told me to just let him be, you and I got this alone anyway. The few times he was dragged into helping he would always make a mess somehow, and it would end in an argument with him and mom. I've realized now he most likely did a bad job on purpose so we wouldn't ask him for help. When I was 15, mom found out that dad cheated. He had been for like a year. They had the biggest fight ever, and my dad left us that night to live with his mistress and her daughter from a previous marriage. He came a few days after and picked most of his stuff up. I don't remember much how the divorce went, other than my mom being a wreck. When it was finalized, she honestly broke down even more. I fed her, helped her into the shower, held her at night. I've never seen her that bad, and if I didn't hate my dad for what he had done in general, I started absolutely despising him for what he did to mom. Family from mom's side would help us too, but it was mostly me since no one could really move in and stay with us full-time. I picked up a job at 16 to help at home. It took my mom maybe half a year to start going back to her old self. She grew up to be better, happier, and I had never seen her so full of life when she was with dad. A month or two after the divorce was over, my dad started pushing for me to live with him 50% of the time. I told him to fuck off basically, but mom said I shouldn't shut him out completely. So I went to him every other weekend. He tried to be all nice to me and so did his mistress, but I hated their guts. The mistress, let's call her Hannah, tried to be nice to me but also bossed me around, and I basically ignored her. She has a daughter from a previous marriage who tried to bond with me, but I ignored her. Barely even a year after the divorce was over, Hannah got pregnant, and they had another daughter. Dad and Hannah have tried to push for me to be a big brother for them, but I couldn't care about them less. Now I'm 18, and I gradually stopped going to my dad's. I barely ever stay a night, I just visit, and my dad keeps trying to blame my mom for it. Hannah gives me more and more attitude and tries to use her daughters to guilt me into staying over, saying they miss their big brother. You're so selfish. We had a big confrontation when I visited last. I stayed for 20 minutes before Hannah started trying to lecture me, so I just started leaving. Dad blocked my way and told me I have to grow up and leave the past in the past. He said I can't be mad forever and I'm acting as if I don't love him, and we're all family. That just set me off. I started screaming at him that I haven't loved him in years. I told him that he was always a lazy POS who acted more like a child than a husband to mom. She always cleaned up after him, cleaned the house alone, washed his clothes, made him food, fetched him another beer even though the kitchen was 5 steps away. But all that ever came out of his mouth was complaints and demands. I told him he took me out to do fun things, sure, but that's not all there is to be a dad. He was never there for me, helped me in school, drove me anywhere or picked me up, comforted me. And then he did the worst possible thing. After years of standing on my mother's back and using her, he went and fucked a random woman and absolutely broke her, mom. I screamed about how a kid had to pick up the pieces of his own mother cause his father was such a POS and useless garbage. I felt nothing for him, in fact I hated his guts still, and I hated his mistress too. I turned to Hannah and told her that she means nothing to me, she has no authority over me, I don't give a shit about her or her kids. I told them both I wish nothing bad at their daughters, but Hannah is a horrible person for filling her kids' heads with lies about how I'm their brother when I've repeatedly told them I'm not. Then I looked my dad in the eyes and said my father died to me years ago, and that man wasn't even a good dad. You're just a stranger to me. I pushed my way past him and left. When I got home I told my mom everything and cried. She hugged me and told me she understands my emotions but wishes I wasn't so aggressive, for my own sake. My mom has never said a bad thing about my dad despite everything, and when I would curse him out she always told me it wasn't worth it. My dad and his new family were silent for a few days, but then Hannah started bombarding me with texts about how I was a horrible son and how my dad hasn't stopped crying since. I know he always wanted a son and wanted a close bond, but he's failed me as a father and I don't care. But family from Hannah's side I've met like once or not at all have also started messaging me saying I was out of line and everyone makes mistakes. But I don't think it's a mistake, I genuinely think my dad's a POS and I don't owe him anything. But I guess all the hate from so many people has me doubting myself. Maybe I should have just left without a word. Update, Aita for telling my dad and his fiancée how I truly feel and sending my dad into a deep depression. Some people questioned if I'm really 18 lol, and I get that. It's not like I wrote this text to my dad out in 10 minutes and sent it. I spent an hour writing it and my mom helped read it and let me know if it was good. I've always liked books and reading as a kid. My mom never baby taught me, so I started speaking proper sentences really early. She always brags about that lol. Anyway, thank you, this is the last from me. Have a nice life. Hi, my first post got removed cause I tried to edit and update in the same post. But it became too long and was removed by auto-mod. I asked if they can restore it, but I don't know. For those who commented or just read my first post, I know it hasn't been long since I posted, but I quickly got so many NTA and people who agreed with me that I acted pretty fast. I wrote out a long text to my dad that looks like this. Hey Dad. I know what I said yesterday was very harsh, but I'm not apologizing for it. Growing up you made it clear what a partner and husband shouldn't be. Even though Mom and you worked the same hours, you were always entitled to your alone time and your rest while she was left to pick up after the whole family. I realized at a young age that Mom needed help, and every time I picked up your old socks or put your dishes away I got more and more annoyed at what a lazy POS you are. A 12-year-old did more housework than his father, let that sink in. You went and did fun things with me, I acknowledge and did appreciate that. But that's not all there to be a parent. I needed you other times, when I was sick, sad, stressed, needed help with homework, or even just talking to you. I know you always wanted a good father and son bond, but we never actually talked. Not small talk, proper conversations. I honestly feel like you don't even know who I truly am. But when I went to you with anything, you told me to go to Mom because you had a long day at work. I hope for your new daughter's sake that you start picking up your shit after yourself. I can't stand Hannah, but I somehow also hope she doesn't get stuck in the loop of scrubbing your back and holding your spoon when you eat, never allowed to ask for a favor and rest. You need to tell her to get her family to stop harassing me about this, or I'm blocking you all, you included. Hannah has no authority over me and I have no respect for her because she slept with a married man. She also is not entitled to a relationship with me. I've always tried to be polite but not welcoming because I don't see her as anything other than your mistress. She needs to get that through her head. And like I said, I will never wish anything bad onto her daughters, but I am not their family. You filling their head with that BS is only causing them harm. Get that through your head. If you're unhappy in your marriage, you either try to work it out, go to therapy, or split on whatever terms. You don't cheat on your partner like a scumbag. It doesn't matter how you felt for Hannah and Mom at the time, you should have split with Mom before pursuing Hannah. I'm fucking 18 years old and even I know that. If the texts don't stop today, I'm blocking every last one of you. I'm already blocking Hannah's family, but I'm keeping you and her unblocked for whatever reason. This is not me forgiving you, don't think we can work through this. Because we can't. I'm not visiting you for a while, and if I ever want to again, it will be on my terms. This is not up for negotiation, and again, if you try to pressure me or guilt trip me, I will literally just never speak to you again. I hope you go to therapy and get fully torn down so you can build yourself up to be someone worthy of respect. Because right now you're not. Now leave me alone. After like 3 or 4 hours, Dad responded, I understand, and nothing else. The random texts have stopped. I don't know. I sort of feel free but also sad. I'm not burning the bridge fully, but I'm also done with their BS. So yeah, that's where I stand right now. Thanks for listening. Stories number 13. Aita for refusing to go to my sister's wedding because I never got my dream wedding. All while growing, my parents would talk up me and my sister's wedding. They said that their wedding was by far one of the best days of their lives and they wanted to be able to give that to their kids. So all this time while growing up they had binders saving accounts purely to plan our dream, no matter the cost we could enact our visions. Fast forward to last year when me and my now wife were engaged and I came to my parents to begin planning the wedding. They sat me down and explained that COVID and the economy in recent years has disrupted business quite badly and things weren't looking great and they wouldn't be able to afford it. I was heartbroken, but I understood and we instead had a low-key affair. Fast forward to yesterday after my little sister got engaged. My family and my wife and her fiancé went out to celebrate, and the topic of the wedding came up, and my mum pulled out the binder and started talking up her wedding, talking about all the extravagant things they would do. I didn't say anything, but I slowly kinda realized that it didn't really make sense that they could afford her wedding and not mine. When we got home I confronted my mum and she kinda dodged it and went, "Maybe it's for the best you had a more intimate wedding considering the circumstances." I asked what that meant and she shrugged me off. When my sister approached me to ask if I'd like to be her maid of honor, I flat out told her that I wasn't going to her wedding and explained why. She got upset and told me that I wasn't making her day about me and to grow up. And honestly at this point I do really feel like a dick, and now she refuses to speak to me. Edit. People are telling me to add that my sister refused to be my maid of honor because she didn't feel comfortable, as it's important to the context. Edit. For those wondering, I have now flat out asked my mum, is it because I'm gay that I didn't get the wedding? She told me not to play the gay card, and that if I'm not adult enough to understand that they simply could at the time, then maybe they shouldn't leave the family business to me. My sister also said she felt uncomfortable with the idea of managing my big day with me already upset. Stories number 14. My 29F husband, 31M, wants kids, but I think I want a divorce. My husband and I have been together for 8 years, the last 3 we've been married. Little things keep adding up and I don't even know how to approach these issues. He wants kids soon, but I can't trust that he'd support me. I'm trying to figure out if I try to work on us or just leave. Recently, as in the last 4 years, I have been dealing with chronic health issues, but just this year alone I've had 3 surgeries to fix various things for my health. Our intercourse life hasn't been good in a few years since I got ill. Maybe once or twice a month. He has told me that it's not enough and he's feeling rejected and is making his mental health worse, but if we have kids we won't be able to have intercourse while I'm recovering. I work 5 to 6 days a week, 12-hour night shifts in healthcare. I am the primary breadwinner in our relationship. He bounces from job to job and recently was unemployed for over a year while he was claiming to be applying to jobs. I know the job market is horrible right now, so I wasn't pushing. I found out he was lying. He hadn't applied for anything in about 6 months, including the jobs I got him recommended for through some connections I have. We got into a massive fight and I basically told him if he didn't have a job at the end of the month I was leaving and he could figure out bills himself. Not even a week later he was back working at his old job. I still do all the cooking, cleaning, and household upkeep. On my days off I spend 3 to 4 hours just putting everything in order for the week. Even when he wasn't working he wasn't doing anything except playing video games in another room while I slept, so when I'd wake up there would be laundry I'd have to switch or cat litter I'd have to scoop. He wants kids soon, but with my chronic health problems it's going to make children a really hard process on my body, lots of health risks, and I would basically have to be on bed rest the whole time and in and out of doctor appointments. I couldn't work or do anything really, and I'm just scared I won't get the support that I need. I don't even know if I want to have kids with him anymore. He gets money every month from a settlement and he says it's enough to make up for the income one won't be bringing in if I get pregnant. The settlement payout every month is less than 1/4 of what I make in 2 weeks. I feel like I'm his mother already. I feel like I'd be one of those married single mothers. I've asked him about therapy, individual or couples, and he is dismissive, saying therapy hasn't helped in the past. So I've asked about medications, but he doesn't want to take a pill every day. I don't want to come across as horrible or manipulative, but I'm about ready to write out everything I do, bill payments, chores, time I'm at work, etc., and have him do it all for a month, then tell me he thinks we can have kids right now. Edit. A few things, since this is a real story and not AI. And I am a real person who is making choices in order to keep up with the current economy and situation. 1. I work the hours I do so I can build up my PTO and sick time for my procedures and recovery time. Yes, I have FMLA for these, but it only pays out 60% of my wage versus 100% if I use PTO. Overtime accrues PTOX 2 and pays time and a half. We also have a pickup bonus of $10 an hour. I have been working at this hospital since 2015 as a CNA and phlebotomist since 2018 and an RN since 2020, so I have seniority and that comes benefits, yay unions. 2. I work night shift because it has the flexibility for my schedule and they work with me for my restrictions. I am lucky enough to work in a hospital that uses lifts and is staffed as well as can be currently. Shift differential also gives me an additional $6 an hour and that quickly adds up. 3. My surgeries were laparoscopic, and recovery time is about 1 to 4 weeks on average. Surgery 1 and 3 were both exploratory. My second was to remove a lesion on my intestines that connected them to my abdominal wall as well as a cyst on my ovary, and recovery was 4 weeks with 4 more on restrictions. I am about to have a fourth surgery to remove my gallbladder, recovery is 1 to 2 weeks with 2 weeks of recovery. Yes, I have had a lot of surgeries this year, but I haven't had any before this unless you count upper and lower GI scopes, pelvic floor testing, gastric emptying test, X-rays, CTs, and MRI, labs, genetic testing, and HITA scans. Or maybe the diet changes and medications that you have to be on for months at a time before you'd see any really changes. I also have the birth control implant, and me coming off of that would involve about 3 different doctors' inputs and oversight. 4. I blocked all of my husband's accounts and his friends' accounts that I know of. I plan on deleting this at some point, but I've just gotten angrier with each comment and everything I type out. At this point I don't care if he finds this. Maybe it would be a wake-up call he needs. 5. Our wedding was supposed to take place in November of 2020. That obviously didn't happen. We rescheduled to the end of 2021 so we didn't lose deposits. He quit his job about 2 months after our wedding. 6. People do things like meal prep for a week and find relaxation in cooking. My hospital provides scrubs. When I am home I have more than 6 pairs of underwear. So it's not like I don't have clothes if I don't do laundry every day. I appreciate all the comments, but to the rude ones especially, please remember that I am a real person. I'm sorry I have to justify every small detail of my health problems for you. Unfortunately, the knee brace girl in middle school sometimes grows up and still has health problems. Smiley face. This is my first time being alive and not everything is going to be perfect. I am trying my best and sometimes people do stupid things because they love someone. Update. I had my surgery a few days ago, and since I have time off I figured I'd write an update for anyone curious. It will be long and I apologize. TLDR, I tried to have one more discussion with him before I threw in the towel. He asked for an open marriage and I told him to move out. Papers are being filed and I have lawyer. I talked with my lawyer last week and the hope is papers are to be drafted and he will be formally served when he comes back from his work trip in 2 weeks. On one of my days off I wanted to have a discussion about our relationship and it didn't go well. I had spent the night cleaning and getting the house put together because my anxiety was so bad. When he woke up in the morning I had breakfast made and we just made polite small talk. I started the conversation by asking him if he was happy in our relationship. I'll summarize the conversation. Me, are you happy like this? With us? I feel like we are roommates more than a married couple. Him, I don't think either of us have been happy for a while. I do still love you and want to raise children with you, you'll be a great mom. I have been meaning to talk to you about something. Me, okay. Him, do you remember my friends in City? And how they were having problems in their relationship after, fake name, came out as Ace. How they opened their relationship so, fake name, could still get his needs met. At this point I was just staring at him. He kept rambling on. I've joined some groups online, they said it saved their marriage. And with how much I'm traveling now for work. It would be every other 2 weeks, you know. And I'm in City name, so it's not like it would be someone you know or would ever meet. Me, what the fuck? Him, I mean think about it, we could have a surrogate this way. I know it would be a lot but we could make it work. You've always talked about fostering or adopting and it would be just like that. Me, did you get someone pregnant? Is this your way of telling me you cheat on me when you travel for work? Him, no, God no, there was one girl at the bar who was flirting with me and it just felt nice to be wanted like that. He then pulled out his phone and started showing me support groups he had joined online for poly people in monogamous relationships. There was probably 3 or 4 of them that he had been texting in for the last few weeks trying to gain the confidence to talk to me about opening up our relationship. He brought up how he knows I've been thinking about switching to travel contracts and I can meet people there, but then we come back home we're together and married because we still love each other. I have nothing against people who are in poly relationships, we have friends who are and have met their partners and go out all together. It's just not for me. When I'm with someone I want to be the only person they're with. I don't want to get tested regularly, I don't want to risk surprise pregnancy, I don't want to feel jealous or wonder if he's texting another girl while he's supposed to be spending time with me. I let him finish his speech before I told him it hasn't felt like we've been married in a long time and I'm done. Hearing that he wants to see other people killed any last feelings I may have had. I'm not in love anymore and staying together isn't going to make either of us happy. We both want kids but our timelines are different, what we want from the future is different now. I asked him to move out and he didn't seem surprised. I walked away and left him in the kitchen before I drove to my friend's house since I just couldn't be there. We spent the day drinking and eating ice cream while I went from crying to laughing to screaming. She is currently going through a divorce over her ex-husband's porn addiction and the debt he put them in because of it. She gave me her lawyer's information and I had an appointment set up with him a few days later. I went home the next day and he had moved most of his stuff out, his side of the closet is empty, his cat, the stuff in the bathroom, a few of our wedding pictures have been taken off the wall and I can't find them so I think he took them, and his gaming setup. The house feels incredibly empty now. He travels for work so I'm used to being in the house alone but now my toothbrush is lonely in the cup on the sink. Our garage feels bigger now, the bed get cold, I only have to cook for one now. I miss his presence, I miss having someone to come home to, and I won't lie I've spent the last week crying and my heart hurts. We didn't speak for a few days after he left, his mom reached out before he did. She wanted to see how I was doing and if there was anything she could do for me. We had a great relationship and I'm honestly going to miss having her in my life. We have a lot of the same dietary restrictions but for different reasons, and she was my food adventure buddy. We would go out for a coffee or lunch to some of the few restaurants and cafes that we can safely eat at. She invited me out for coffee and I went. When we met up the next day we made small talk until the divorce came up. She let me know how he was doing. He moved into one of the houses on their property, they have like 60 acres and 4 houses on the property that different family members live in. He hasn't really gotten out of bed, she's worried about him and wanted us to talk it out. She asked if I was willing to go to couples counseling and told her I've been asking for that for about a year and his response was no. I was drowning and he didn't want to help fix it but now that I've decided to leave is when he wants to work it and I just can't. She stayed silent for a while before asking me if I still loved him. I do but I don't. I told her I loved who he was but I'm too full of hurt that I don't feel the love anymore. I can't keep taking care of him like he's my child, I can't keep bankrolling our lives alone, I need a partner who is able to support me and I haven't felt supported by her son in a long time. We were both crying by the end of our talk and she gave a really big hug before leaving. He wanted to talk the next day and he came back to the house to talk. When he came in it was awkward, he wanted to give me a hug when he and I did, he went for a kiss and I turned my head so he kissed my cheek. We talked for a while about our relationship and how it got to this point. He apologized for a lot, he went into specifics of how he never helped around the house, he could have done more since he was home. It wasn't fair to me that he put it all on me. He told me he's looking at a new job, one where he doesn't have to travel and it's actually in the field he got his degree in. He gave me an update on his cat, who is struggling to the adjustment of the new house. I told him I'll have papers for him in a few weeks and he couldn't look me in the eyes for the rest of the time he was there. I helped him pack some of the odds and ends that he left around the house and he left again. At the appointment with the lawyer we talked about what it would look like for the divorce process. Unless he wants the house I plan to buy his half. If I do that then there's a good chance I won't have to pay alimony unless he fights for it. He has the potential to make more than me so my lawyer doesn't think I'll have to pay anyways. We don't have children, unless you count fur babies, and I took a pregnancy test recently to confirm that I'm not pregnant so that won't be a factor. We each own our cars and pay for them ourselves. We have a joint savings but I can prove I've been the only one contributing for the last 2 years so it's likely I'll get most of that. I'm not touching it besides for the bills for the house per my lawyer's advice. I will hopefully have papers for my soon-to-be ex to fill out and if he gets a lawyer to look over. My 2 cats have been laying in bed with me and haven't left my side since he left. They're trying to make me feel better but it's hard. My friend who is also getting a divorce has said that we'll have a hot girl summer together and it makes me laugh but I don't think I'm ready or even close to it. I don't want to meet new people I don't want to do first dates again. I think I'm just going to single for a while. My mom sent me this poem after I told them about the divorce and it makes me cry reading it. I've learned a lot from this relationship and I'm content being the old crazy cat lady for the foreseeable future. I will never love the same after you. I was always the girl that loved so hard that it hurt, until it hurt. I watched you change every day until you eventually become someone I told myself I would never settle for. But how do I leave you? I told myself it was just a rough patch and we can work through this. I will do more to make you love me again. Because I don't give up on people. So why would I do that to you? I will put myself through hell for you, I will hate myself to love you, and I will rip myself apart so that you feel cared for. Because I was serious when I said I would die for you, because I almost did. I guess I ripped myself apart so much that I had nothing left. I cared so much about you that I stopped caring about myself completely. I lost who I was and I was no longer strong. And I watched myself change every day until I eventually became someone I told myself I'd never be. But it's my fault for not having a limit on how much I'm willing to give, and for how long I'm willing to stay. And for loving you more than I loved me. Because I loved you so hard that it hurt. So I will never love the same after you. I will never love the same after you by Ali Harding. Thanks Reddit for support and validating my feelings. I don't know yet if I'm going to delete this or not. But I don't think I will update this or ever log into this account again. I hope everyone stays happy and healthy. Smiley face, take care. Stories number 15. Entitled woman expected me to give her a ride home after doing her job application. I work at a semi-major phone retailer. I had about an hour left to finish my 9-hour shift. This woman comes in and sits down. I ask her how can I help her and she asks what time I leave. I was confused but figured she was waiting for someone. After I tell her, she immediately asks if I can give her a ride home. I don't even own a car and my dad usually picks me up since I live 5 minutes away. But I didn't tell her that because she sounded so entitled. I knew she would tell me to tell my dad to give her a ride. Instead, I tell her I live close and that I always get an Uber. She asks if she can ride in the Uber W me. Thinking she lives close at this point, I ask where she lives. She lives 20 minutes away. I said sorry but I can't do that. She asks how Uber works. I tell her she needs a card, but she didn't have one. I tell her to get a taxi but she doesn't have any cash because she just got her hair done. At this point I realized she actually wanted me to pay for her Uber ride lol. She says she will get picked up by her daughter at 9 p.m. This was around 6 p.m. Let me also add that she's the type that doesn't know how to talk. She talks at a yelling level, with all the spit throwing thing going on. She proceeds to talk on the phone at an even higher level for around 15 minutes inside the store. I couldn't even hear a customer that came in. Very annoying stuff. The customer leaves and she hangs up. That's when she tells, yes, told not asked, me to a job application for her. I pointed at the cameras and said my boss is watching and I would get in trouble. Oh, he won't find out, just pretend you're using your phone, she says. She dragged a chair right next to me, puts her phone in my hands, and tells me to look up on Google for said job. I acted like I didn't know what to do. This woman proceeds to call the manager of the place she wanted to work at so he could tell me step by step how to do it. She wouldn't leave me alone so I just did it. Whole time she would sway to super close proximity to me and it was very uncomfortable. She ended up taking a long time getting her email and SSN that it came time for me to close the store. I told her she had to finish it herself because I had stuff to do before closing. I close at 7 p.m., it was 6:55 p.m. at this time. She kept insisting I finish, that it would just take a few minutes. I just stood up to close the store and told her she had to leave. I was at my limit. She leaves but stands just outside the store. My dad arrives to pick me up and I finish closing up. She caught me outside, still insisting I finish. I said my Uber is here and get inside the car. She's flagging me down still, signaling my dad to pull down the window. I tell my dad to ignore her and just leave, and what do you know? The store is located in a plaza. So at the end of it, I see her get inside a car through the passenger seat. She had a ride right there for who knows how long. At least I learned to not be a doormat for strangers next time. Edit. I've seen some comments saying she must have been on drugs or having mental health issues but surprisingly, she didn't seem to have either. I live in the city, I've seen my fair share of homeless people with both those issues. She seemed normal and sober to me tbh. I also want to mention that it's a tiny plaza so no security, unfortunately. Lastly, I didn't include every single thing to avoid making the post too long but she also insisted that I explain parts of her application like the WOTC section and why they would need certain information. When I said I didn't know she said what? You should know, you have done job applications before. Just explain it so I can understand. And yes, she kept spitting on me every time she talked as she was inches away from me. Stories number 16. Is it normal that my F27 Husband, M32, has turned into a complete a-hole after the birth of our child. ETA, please stop telling me that I don't understand what the comments mean. I do. I know leaving is an option, and my family is ready to help me if that's what I choose to do. I am not dealing with this alone, despite how isolating it feels. ETA 2, I feel like I can't complain too much because he does do diaper changes, feeds baby and plays with baby when he's home. So he's not a neglectful father, he does make sure baby is clean and fed. I know some men don't even do that. I've left baby with him a few times to go out grocery shopping. But it's so tiring working 24/7 and never really having any off time. I cook, clean, do a majority of baby care, pet care, shop for the home, and take care of the finances. I am a som but have a financial cushion that built up prior to just in case. I was told all women should have an emergency fund. My husband and I welcomed our first child a few months ago. He wanted a child so badly, practically begged me since the day we started dating 5 years ago. But then it happened. He wasn't very supportive during the pregnancy, we ended up in an argument about everything. I was working full-time and exhausted, so often didn't make dinner during the first trimester, and we'd end up in a screaming match if I even asked him to rub my back. So I quit and handled the pregnancy aches and pains on my own. Then came labor. He was on his phone the entire time, complaining that it was taking too long. The most he helped was to rub my shoulder in a their motion. Now for the last few months he's just been an asshole. Rude comments, jokes about my postpartum body, constantly bugging me for intercourse until I gave in at 8 weeks PP, and some nights he doesn't even talk to me. He's always working or hanging out with his friends, leaving me solo on baby duty from 4:30 a.m. to 8:39 p.m. most nights. He takes one night with baby on the weekends so I can rest. I was giving him handjobs shortly after we came home from the hospital, but that quickly became not enough for him and he wanted actual intercourse. I just want some quality time with him, to have emotional intimacy again, but he says I'm asking for too much and should be happy when he sits beside me on the couch. I told him I felt unattractive since I gave birth, and he said I should be happy he still wants to grab my boobs and have intercourse. Is this normal? Is he jealous? I know men have a harder time with the reality of pregnancy childcare, but this seems like a lot. Stories number 17. Aita for forcing my diet on my boyfriend. I'm from France originally, and I moved to the States almost 2 years ago. Now for some reason, the food here makes me sick. Not in an that's gross kind of way. But actually physically sick. My body seems to struggle to digest it. Whether it's takeout or fancy restaurant food. Either I can't go to the bathroom for days, or I'm violently vomiting. I tried dealing with it for months and months, but I started losing weight very quickly because I couldn't eat. I ended up developing a serious aversion to food, and my family recommended I go and speak to a specialist. I had never had a problem back home, and I was terrified I was seriously ill. So I went to multiple doctors where I was poked and prodded and I had multiple tests done. They have all said nothing is wrong with me physically. I spoke to a dietitian and he explained that my body is probably not used to the amount of salt and preservatives that is found in the food in the States. Please don't think I'm bashing the US. I love it here and it's a great country. My dietitian recommended fresh and organic produce to see how my body coped, and to my delight, I improved. I stopped vomiting and I was able to start slowly putting weight back on. I started making meals from scratch and meal prepping to save time throughout the week. My dad is actually a chef back home, so he was more than happy to send me some recipes to keep my diet interesting. I made a delicious vegetarian lasagna from scratch, and put it in the oven to cook. My boyfriend, American, came home after work and asked what was for dinner. I said I was making a veggie lasagna. He rolled his eyes and said he was sick of that organic crap and wanted a cheeseburger. The comment hurt. I made a real effort at meal times to keep it varied so we're not always eating the same thing. I said I couldn't make one because I didn't even have any burger buns. He said it was unfair to make him eat my diet. I had never realized he was opposed to it. He benefited from home-cooked meals and I had seen that his clothes were fitting him better. He had more energy and he didn't sleep so much on the weekends. I apologized and said I didn't mean to make him feel forced. Aita for forcing my diet on him. Stories number 18. My girlfriend told me she was with a friend, but that friend was with me picking out an engagement ring. How do I confront my girlfriend about her lie? God, this is a doozy. I swear my life feels like a movie right now. Sorry for the weird formatting, I'm on mobile and this is my first time posting on a sub like this. I, 28M, am planning on proposing to my girlfriend of 3 years, 26F. Now, I suck at picking out jewelry. I'm the type of guy that doesn't see a problem with heart-shaped jewelry. Seriously, why is it considered so ugly? So every time I want to buy something for my girl, I usually consult one of our mutual friends. My girl's best friends are all friends with me as well and we all get along well, so asking them for help picking out jewelry is something I'm used to. When it came time to pick out a ring, I consulted my girlfriend's best friend Justine, fake name. Justine and I are quite close and she knows my girlfriend better than anyone, including me. So, when my girlfriend went out to visit her sister and baby nephew, I invited Justine over to the house to help pick out a ring. Justine and I looked through a few catalogs, but decided it was a dead end and it would be better to go to professionals at a jewelry store. However, I didn't know when my girlfriend would be coming home, so Justine and I thought of a clever text to gauge how much time we had. I asked her when she'd be coming home, as I was ordering takeout and wanted to know when to tell them to have the food ready by. She responded by saying it would be a few hours. She met up with Justine to go shopping. Now, obviously this took me by surprise since Justine was standing inside my house. I showed Justine the text, and she looked as confused as I was. It isn't out of the ordinary for my girlfriend to meet up with people out of the blue like that for shopping, lunch, etc. She's a very spontaneous person and loves making plans on the fly. So ordinarily, I would have believed this text in a heartbeat. However, obviously this had to be a lie. When she came home she acted completely normal, and I played along, but it's been really hard to act like everything's fine. We got takeout, ate together, and cuddled on the couch after. So far she's caught on a little that something's upsetting me, but I just can't tell her what. Looking at her kills me, I don't know what to do. My girlfriend and I have zero trust issues and we tell each other everything, so this lie is killing me. I want to ask her about it so bad, but if I tell her I knew she was lying, I'd have to explain why, and I really don't want to do that. What do I do? I know she lied to me, but I don't know how to confront her about it. Should I just forget it? This won't stop gnawing at me. Please help. Edit. I'm sorry for the lack of responses, it's been a hectic day and there's a lot of comments. Thank you to everyone who has commented so far, I appreciate them all. Edit 2. Sorry again for the lack of responses, guys. It's really been a crazy day. My parents are moving and I've been helping them. Also, I've never experienced this many comments on a post in my life. I am going to talk to her tonight once we're both finally settled in after such a busy day, and I will update tomorrow. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Ask her straight up, hey, why did you say you were with Justine, when I know you weren't? No use beating around the bush about it. Either she'll have a reasonable explanation, or she'll freak out and you'll get to save a fortune by dodging a bullet. Reply. But how do I explain the fact that I knew she was lying? I'd have to tell her about the ring, and the whole thing will be ruined. Commenter 2. You've potentially got much bigger issues than the surprise of an engagement being ruined. You don't have to tell her why you were out with her friend. Because that isn't important right now. What's important is why is she lying. Commenter 3. Agreed. And if OP is still holding out hope that there's an innocent reason for this, you can partial truth it. Justine was helping me pick out a gift for you. Commenter 4. Damn, I can't believe you wouldn't want to ask immediately. Reply. Trust me, I did, but it scared me too much to admit to her that I was ring shopping. Commenter 5. I know you say you can't tell her why you know, but I honestly think you should. You don't want this to bug you forever and propose to a girl that could be potentially hiding something. Just say you were hanging out with Justine because you needed help with a gift, so you know she wasn't with her. And see what she says. Trust and communication is important, and it would suck to know you proposed to a girl who could be doing you wrong, but also just as bad to sit there and let that lie eat you alive. Commenter 6. Doesn't have to be the ring you were shopping for. You can tell her that you asked Justine for her input on a gift for you and she was standing next to you when the text came in. However, what do you think the chances are Justine has not already tipped her off that you know she lied and has given her time to prep a story? Commenter 7. I don't know, if I was Justine and any of my friends pulled this shit I would side with the BF immediately. There's no way I would condone this behavior to the point of tipping her off before the BF has a chance to talk it through. My faith in people is probably too high though. Commenter 8. See, I would have texted a selfie of you and Justine back to her. How do you know she wasn't with your best friend picking out a ring for you? Update. My girlfriend told me she was with a friend, but that friend was with me picking out an engagement ring. How do I confront my girlfriend about her lie? 2 days later. Hey guys. Oh my god, where to begin? My last post got way more attention than I could have ever imagined. Suffice to say, it was a tad bit overwhelming. Seriously, the amount of people begging for an update was a bit dehumanizing in a way. Like I wasn't a person going through something, but more so a story. But I understand, haha. I just want to say thank you so much for all of the support and wonderful comments. I got a lot of great advice that helped me tackle the issue head on. I also got a lot of really kind comments and messages. It was awesome. I also got a lot of comments that made me realize how toxic this sub can be. There were many comments that just said things like she's cheating, it's over and don't even confront her, just leave. It's advice like that that can ruin relationships that just need a little work. And thank you to the people that told me to hit my girlfriend, told me I was an embarrassment to my gender, and best of all, told me I should encourage an affair because it would lead to great experiences for me later in life. You gave me a good chuckle. On to the update. I decided to confront my girlfriend. I thought about using some of the lies people suggested, but they just wouldn't make sense. To say I ran into Justine somewhere, well, I told my girl I had to stay home and do stuff around the house, and that's why I couldn't go with her to see my SIL. To say Justine was helping me pick out jewelry, it doesn't make sense for her to come all the way to our house to help me pick out a piece of jewelry unless it was a serious piece of jewelry, like an engagement ring. If I just wanted to get her a piece of jewelry as a gift, I'd ask her friends for suggestions or ask them to send me pictures of jewelry she might like. It all happens over text. None of the excuses made sense. So, I decided to be honest. I basically just said that I knew we'd been thinking about marriage and she probably knew a proposal was coming soon, so I invited Justine over to help me find her the perfect ring, and that so happened to be the day that she said she was going to see her. So, what's the deal? She immediately started grinning like an idiot and prodding me about proposing and the ring, but then we got back onto the topic of where she was and she confessed what she was really doing. No, she wasn't cheating, and no, she wasn't picking out a ring for me. The amount of times that was commented was crazy. So, some people are dog people and some people are cat people. Well, me, I'm a snake person. I grew up with snakes my whole life. But I never felt I was able to get one because my girlfriend has always been uneasy about living with a snake, which I completely respected. Also, the process of buying and raising a snake is very different than that of buying and raising a dog or cat. It's quite complicated. So you could imagine my surprise when my girlfriend showed me a picture of her holding the cutest Kenyan sand boa I have ever seen. Needless to say, my girlfriend was going to surprise me with a snake. We're picking her up next week. Let me know if you want a pet tax, she's so cute. I definitely did not expect this and I feel bad for ruining the surprise, but oh well. Life is good. Sorry if this isn't the ending you guys wanted or expected, just a snake huh? Thanks for reading. TLDR, snake. Edit, pet tax. Sorry, I'd love to give some better pictures, but the only other picture is a picture of the snake right next to my girlfriend's face, which I don't want to show. If people are still interested, I'll probably upload more to my profile once we take her home. Edit 2, did you guys really award me 130 snack awards? I love Reddit. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, I'm glad to see honesty and communication triumphed. Congrats on your future engagement, your new pet, and a happy resolution. Edit, I'm also chuckling at the TLDR. Snake, but not the snake that everyone was thinking. Depending on how you think it would go over, I'd be tempted to name the snake Justine. Tongue sticking out. Reply, I think we're naming her Nyoka, which is just Swahili for snake, but it's really cute nonetheless. Commenter 2, I love how you both were trying to surprise each other, and both surprises were ruined in the sweetest way. Commenter 3, I sold all my snake habitats to buy you this ring. But oh no, you sold your ring fingers to buy me a snake. Commenter 4. Rattled over nothing. Commenter 5. Dramatic people are gonna have a his wife fit. Commenter 6. People really need to shed themselves of all of these ridiculous preconceived notions. Stories number 19. Aita for not giving my nephew food I cooked just for my husband, daughter, and myself, even though we live in the same house. We live in a multi-generational house, but we have separate households under one roof. My husband, our daughter, and I have our own household. We buy our own groceries, cook our own meals, and take care of ourselves independently. My in-laws, husband's parents, his sister, and her son, my nephew by marriage, form a separate household within the same house. One morning, I cooked a small, portioned lunch just for myself, my daughter, 5 years old, and my husband. I didn't make extra because I had no idea anyone else would be eating with us. Meanwhile, my father-in-law was cooking a separate meal for his other grandson, my nephew, 4 years old, who decided he wanted spinach, which happened to be what I was making. The spinach dish was specifically prepared for the three of us, but out of courtesy, I gave my nephew a ladle of it. He didn't even end up eating it. I felt upset because I had to give up part of my husband's portion to serve a child who isn't mine, especially when I hadn't planned for it and had made just enough. I've cooked for him many times before, but this time I portioned the food precisely because I didn't know he and my daughter would be eating together. After lunch, my mother-in-law told me that ethically and morally, I should serve all children the same. I felt judged, as if I'd done something cruel, even though I tried to share what I could. To my relief, my father-in-law defended me and said I'm not obligated to feed a child who isn't mine. That set off an all-day argument between him, my mother-in-law, and my sister-in-law once she came home. So now I'm left wondering, Aita for not setting aside a full portion for my nephew, given we live in the same house but maintain separate households. Edit, I'd like to clarify a few things. It seems I may have misrepresented our living situation. We live in the same house, yes, but it's divided into 3 completely separate households, each on its own floor with its own entrance. At the top are my husband's grandparents, the actual owners of the house. The middle floor is shared by my in-laws, my sister-in-law, and her son. My husband, our daughter, and I live on the bottom floor. Since my husband and I started living here, we've always paid rent and our own utilities. We invested a lot, money, time, and work, into making our floor livable, since it was originally just a moldy storage space. We always help whenever we can. I mow the lawn, stack firewood, drive grandma to the store, help my father-in-law with cooking, fix tech issues. We try to carry our share and then some. Our daughter goes to kindergarten. For those suggesting we should pay the in-laws for childcare, she stays with them maybe 2 hours per week, and only if I work a late shift and my husband can't make it home in time. Even then, I always prepare everything for both our daughter and my nephew. That specific day, I just wanted to spend time with my little family. That was my plan. My father-in-law and I take turns driving my nephew to kindergarten so he doesn't have to walk. We usually go pick him up together too. We don't share meals, except when my nephew specifically asks to eat with my daughter. Most of the time, he doesn't even want to play with her. He calls her names, hits her, and pushes her away. 2 years ago, my sister-in-law moved back in after separating from her partner. Since then, she hasn't taken her son to kindergarten even once, nor has she cooked him a single lunch. She's pushed all the parenting responsibilities onto my father-in-law. My mother-in-law never cooks, never shops. The entire burden of raising that child has fallen on one person, my father-in-law. I understand that I may seem like an asshole to some for not wanting to take on more responsibility for a child who isn't mine. And I know the child is not to blame. I really do. But I also have my own child, my own job, and a household to run. I'm tired, too. What hurts most is being humiliated by my mother-in-law over one serving of spinach. I've cooked for my nephew more often than she has. But because I didn't react to her insults, she started screaming, for 5 hours straight. Her yelling could be heard across half the village. She ended up fighting with almost the entire house, my father-in-law, her own daughter, and now she won't even look at me or my husband. We didn't argue back. We're so used to her outbursts that we quietly removed ourselves, especially to protect our daughter from hearing the shouting. It breaks my heart that this is considered normal here. Another edit, kid was not hungry, FIL prepped a meal for him, he just wanted to eat what my kid was eating. Phil and me were cooking separately for our own households. Kids just happened to eat outside in garden together. I don't know where are you reading that I didn't give hungry kid food. Stories number 20. My wife, 30F, told me she never really felt in love with me, 32M. We've been together 3 years. Is there any way back from this? My wife, 30F, and I, 32M, have been together for 3 years, married for about 2. We have a nearly 2-year-old daughter and have been through a lot in a short time, moving in together, full-time jobs, a pregnancy, getting married, and even a miscarriage. It's been intense and emotional. I've always believed in us, and while we've had major struggles, I've kept fighting for our relationship. Recently, during a very honest conversation, she told me something that hit me hard. That after about 6 months of being together, she realized she didn't feel the feeling, that in love spark. And now, 3 years in, she says she still doesn't feel it. She told me she's always struggled with identifying what being in love even means, and now in therapy, she's been going for 4 months, she's starting to untangle those feelings. This is the first time she's ever said this out loud. She said she loves me, cares deeply about me, and sees me as family. But questions whether that love is enough. Whether it's true romantic love or just safety, familiarity, and shared life. It broke me. Especially because I never knew she felt that way. She even admitted she has felt that spark in previous relationships, but those were chaotic or unsafe. With me, she says, everything felt right on paper, stability, a daughter, a future, but never the feeling. We're both emotionally exhausted. I've made mistakes. I bottle up emotions, lash out when I'm overwhelmed, and I've said things I regret. I've just started therapy myself, 1 month in, and I'm fully committed to working on my part. For me, for her, for our daughter. She's been through a lot too. A rough upbringing. No clear example of love or family. This is her first long-term relationship. And I know it's all been a lot, too fast, pregnancy, marriage, building a life. We've been in a tornado, and maybe we didn't even fully get to know each other before life took over. There have also been some fundamental issues between us. Trust was broken early on, things she hid, contact with an ex, lies, secrets. We never really repaired that. Communication has also been really hard. Sometimes I feel like I can't fully express how I feel without it turning into conflict. It's like we're stuck in patterns that keep pulling us apart, and we've never fully built the solid base a relationship really needs. Still, despite all this, I love her. I've always made the choice to stay and build. And while our relationship isn't perfect, far from it. I've always seen something real and worth fighting for. We've had laughter, deep connection, love for our daughter, moments of peace and joy. I've seen us at our best, and I've believed in us. Now we've agreed to take some space. Not a breakup, but real distance. She says she needs space to feel what's real for her without my presence influencing it. And I respect that. But I'm also scared. I'm scared that I'll be the only one fighting again. That I'm the only one willing to rebuild. Asking, has anyone been through this? Can love grow when one person says they never felt in love to begin with? Is space like this helpful, or is it just a goodbye? I'm willing to give it time. I'm willing to work. But I'm also scared that she's already gone in her heart. I just don't know what's real anymore. I just needed to get this out. Update. Last night we finally had the big conversation. We kept it calm and honest, no yelling, no blaming, just truth. She told me more about how she's felt for a long time, and I shared everything I've been holding in. We talked about her doubts, my pain, our patterns, the broken trust. I went into the talk thinking maybe this space could be the beginning of something new. A reset. But after hearing her say she's never truly felt in love with me, and that she's been carrying that for years, it hit harder than I expected. I thought I could take space, but today I feel completely hollow. Like I'm the only one who ever fully believed in us. She said she needs space to understand her own feelings, to explore what love really means to her. And I respect that. But it still hurts like hell. We've agreed to keep some distance now, especially for our daughter's sake. I'm going to stay somewhere else for now. I told her I don't want to give up on us, but I can't be the only one willing to fight. Even with everything she's done, lies, broken trust, things that really hurt. I still love her. I know that might sound foolish, but I do. And I still want to give this a real chance. I just don't know if she does. And I'm scared she's already gone. Relevant comments. OOP on if he sees the magic sparks in his marriage. Reply, it makes me question whether we've both been chasing something unrealistic. I think I've been expecting her to feel something magical that maybe doesn't even exist for some people. Maybe she is confused about what love actually looks like over time. Commenter 1, first 6 months isn't love, it's learning and bonding and infatuation. Love comes after. It seems as if she loves you but is missing what came initially and questioning herself as growing pains pop up. Everyone is different, so take this advice with a grain of salt. But try to ask what specifically she misses, don't let her give a vague answer. After all, there is nothing you can do to help if you don't know what's wrong, let her know that. Try not to get defensive, it's easier said than done. Love is being there for each other and compromising with the little things to ensure the framework of the relationship remains strong. Love is learning your partner's flaws and letting your partner learn yours and working on them together and finding overall enjoyment that you have found each other and are working together for a mutual future. Sometimes you give and sometimes you take, and it doesn't always balance in the near term, but should in the long term. It's a tough situation, but you absolutely need to confront it immediately with empathy, and she needs to do the same. Reply, those first months were intense, but also chaotic. We were bonding through big life events, and now that we're in the hard part, she's unsure if it was ever real. Think best for now is just to take my stuff and let her figure it out. Commenter 2, in all honesty I would not have agreed to go on a break, everyone that I know uses that as an advantage to actually date. Yes, I know you are saying you are working on yourself, but now you are on a break and it leads to so much what ifs. Ideally I would have suggested let's work it out, and if we can't do it then let's file for divorce, but this will only hurt you more. Also I would highly suggest she and you seek therapy. I have to say sometimes when people say I don't have that feeling, it's because they are romanticizing love, like the Notebook type love instead of real life lol. Reply, this isn't the first time we are in a spot like this. Few months ago I told her if we taking space it would be over for me. Therapy would be an option if she 100% commits. Otherwise I won't even try therapy. And after our conversion I also doubt everything. I asks her also what is the feeling you're missing, and the answer I got was just that feeling without a clear explanation. Has OOP's wife been in a previous long-term relationship before him? Reply, this is actually her first long-term relationship, and she didn't grow up with healthy examples of love or emotional safety. I know that plays a big role. I've always said breaks usually mean the beginning of the end. But right now, I feel like we both genuinely need space to figure out what we really want. Still, it hurts that she went through with marriage and a child while carrying so much doubt. I want to fight for this, but I can't be the only one. She has actually felt that feeling in previous relationships, the spark. But now, after about a year in personal therapy, she's starting to look at herself more deeply. She never really had a sense of stability, family, or emotional safety growing up. This is her first real long-term relationship, and now that we have a child together, the pressure is intense. I think she's trying to figure out whether what she expected from love is even realistic. And I'm broken despite the lies and the hurt. Part of me still wants to fight for this. For us. For our child. But some days, I wonder if I'm just fooling myself. Commenter 3, I'll say that I wish I had moved slower with my wife. I let the infatuation phase influence me and we married within 2 years. Which I know isn't super rushing it, but also isn't taking time to truly feel it out. Looking back, we are very different and I'm not sure I really felt it. I love her but I'm not head over heels in love with her. We get along but that's it. I remember she said I love you way quicker than I sat on it for some time and felt pressure to return the sentiment. I can't speak for you and your wife, but I think it is common that one person feels it more than the other. Reply, we also moved way too fast and were kind of swept up by everything. We got married because she was pregnant, and everything else just had to follow, moving in, learning to live together, discovering each other during the pregnancy. Even now, after 3 years, we don't fully know each other because of how much has happened in such a short time. Some people take 10 years for this. We went through it all and fast forward. We're very different people too, but that doesn't matter to me. I've never really had that in love feeling either, but I do love her, and I do want to build something real with her. Update, me, 32M, and my wife, 30F. She says she loves me, but I found out more and now I don't know if I can stay. A few days ago I posted about my wife, 30F, and I, 32M. We've been together 3 years, married for 2, and have a young daughter. Our relationship moved fast: pregnancy, miscarriage, marriage, full-time jobs, and emotionally it's been heavy. We've both made mistakes, and we've both carried pain we never really talked about. In our last big conversation, she told me she was in love at first, and that she does love me deeply. But she also said she never truly felt she could be fully open with me emotionally. That over the years, she didn't feel like she could say everything, like something was always missing in our connection even if she wanted it. She's been in therapy for 4 months now, trying to untangle what love means to her. She had a rough upbringing, no real example of love or family, and I know she's been emotionally lost. We agreed to take some space, not to break up, but so she could figure things out without my presence clouding her judgment. I respected it. I moved out temporarily, but since that conversation, things got heavier. The new part: she finally admitted she had contact with her ex, long distance, on and off for a year or more. I had suspected it, asked about it multiple times. Every time she said it was nothing. Just friendly. Just catching up. But it wasn't just that. I saw messages flirting, multiple nudes sent. Meanwhile, in our relationship, I'd told her more than once that I'd love it if she ever sent me something like that. She never did. But she did for him. She says it's over now, and part of her coming clean was being honest with herself too. But I don't know what to believe anymore. To cope, I booked a hotel. I didn't tell her. I just knew I needed space. I've been calm through this, I haven't yelled, haven't thrown blame, but I feel something inside me cracking. And still, she's been physically affectionate the last couple days. Lying close to me in bed, holding me, seeking connection. It completely confuses me. It almost feels like love, or is it guilt? Habit? Attachment? I brought up our planned vacation in 2 weeks. Told her I might just go alone. She froze. Told me she wanted to go as a family. That line hit me in the gut. It made me feel both hopeful and completely lost at the same time. What's happening now? We're supposed to talk again today. I told her I need clarity. I'm writing this before that conversation, because I don't trust myself to get everything out in the moment. These are the things I need to ask, and honestly, things I've been carrying for a while. Why the sudden affection lately? Is it love, confusion, or just not wanting to let go yet? What did she mean when she said she wants to go on vacation as a family? Is that real? Or just something that sounds nice? And the hardest question, is my daughter mine? I'm almost sure she is. But during a past argument, she mentioned her ex once asked if it was his child, and it planted a seed of doubt I can't ignore. I hate that I even have to ask this. Was her contact with her ex consistent this whole time? I found explicit photos 4 months ago and once a year ago. She admitted the talking started way before. I assume it never stopped, but I want to know the full truth. How long did it go on, and how deep was it really? I've been in therapy myself for a month. I'm facing my own stuff, the way I shut down, avoid hard emotions, or lash out under pressure. I'm committed to growing. But right now, I don't know if there's anything left to fight for. I don't even know if I want to stay, and that's new for me. I love her. But I'm hurt. And yeah, I'll admit this too, after she told me all this, I reached out to a couple past hookups. I haven't acted on it, but the fact that I even wanted to shows me how far I've drifted from myself in all this. So here I am. We're about to talk. And I honestly don't know what I want to hear. Part of me wants her to fight for us. Part of me is done. Can something this broken be rebuilt if the love is real, but the trust and connection never fully were? Can 2 people come back from this level of damage, or are we just dragging out the end? And how do you know when it's time to stop trying? Update. We've had the most honest conversations we've ever had, and I've taken space to really reflect. The situation is more complex than just betrayal. We're both facing ourselves now. Top comments. Commenter 1, you have to face the truth. Sending nudes is cheating. She is cheating. She is a cheater. A cheater. Read out those words loud. Even if you want to reconcile with her, the only path forward is to break up your current relationship with her. Ask for a divorce. Go nuclear. You need to show you are serious and that she can't just walk all over you. Commenter 2, she's love bombing you because you caught her cheating. I'd drop her, but it's difficult with a child involved. Commenter 3, I just knew I needed space, so why aren't you taking it? In a way, she is fighting for the relationship. It's just that her version of that is I finally admitted, at least some of, what was going on after lying about it for a year, so let's just pretend it didn't happen. That's not taking accountability. That's not coming up with and executing on a plan to fix any of this. Cancel the trip. Be in the hotel room. Don't drag more past hookups into this by calling, even if it does provide a brief distraction or reassure you someone likes you. Just give yourself space to be alone with your thoughts and really sort out if this is the kind of partnership you want without her trying to distract you with cuddles. But you're making this way too much about her and what she wants, and you need to get clear on what you want beyond the details of the affair. Because unless they disgust you to the point that your next move becomes obvious, I don't think they're going to help you figure out what to do as much as you're hoping. Update 2, me, 32M, and my wife, 30F took distance. We're both processing, but this relationship, as it was, is over. My wife, 30F, and I, 32M, have been together for 3 years, married for 2, and we have a daughter who's almost 2. Recently, things finally broke open. She told me that although she loves me and was in love early on, she spent most of the relationship not feeling safe or emotionally at peace. She said that around 6 months into the relationship, that sense of rest started to disappear, and for most of the time since, she's felt disconnected. She wasn't the only one. We've both been walking on eggshells. We both have old wounds, and when those get triggered, we pull away, say the wrong things, or shut down. That pattern has chipped away at our connection. We've never really felt calm together for long. But we never said it. Until now. This past week, Monday and yesterday, we've had the most open conversations we've ever had. More honesty than we've shared in years. But it's also shown us how fragile things have become. I found out she had long-term on and off contact with her ex. That shook me. Especially when I saw intimate photos on her phone, and heard that he once asked if our child might be his. That broke me. She says the photos were from before our relationship, and I don't care what happened before that, and that she didn't send anything while we were together. I found also some pictures in our relationship in her gallery. She also said she blocked him immediately after that "is it my child" comment. I believe her, mostly. But somewhere inside, my trust still questions it. Honestly, I booked a hotel and left the house abruptly because I truly believed she had cheated during our relationship. At that moment, everything in me was convinced something happened I didn't fully know. Now, after all the talks and her explanations, I don't know if I'd call it cheating. There were definitely things that hurt, things that crossed emotional lines, but I can't label it 100% as cheating. That confusion is still in me. What really bothers me is this: my ex also contacted me multiple times during our relationship, and I never replied. That was a clear boundary. She didn't draw that same line. And that difference in boundaries makes me question how aligned we really are when it comes to loyalty and emotional safety. That said, I don't want this whole story to be reduced to just the ex. That's one part of it, but the bigger truth is, we both came into this relationship with heavy baggage. I've struggled with depression for a long time. I shut down emotionally. I didn't always create a safe space either. She has her wounds, I have mine. We've both failed each other in different ways. And the crack started before this latest breaking point and only got worse. We never really talked deeply about our struggles or what came after the fights. We just moved on. I told her I needed space. And I left. She didn't expect me to actually go. But I had to finally listen to myself. We've agreed I'll stay away until at least Wednesday. Our daughter is safe and cared for. No conflict there. We've paused all vacation plans and upcoming weekends. Nothing is forced. No more pretending. Right now, I'm focusing on my mental health, my business, and figuring out what I really want, not just what I'm afraid to lose. I've also stopped all contact with the flings I messaged out of pain. That wasn't who I want to be. If I want to do right by my daughter, and by myself, I have to face this clean. If this continues, it has to be something entirely new. The relationship we had is over. The patterns, the assumptions, the silence. If we try again, it'll be a full reset. If not, it's closure. We both understand that now. This is emotionally draining and honestly, I don't know what I want yet. I just need rest. I need to write everything out so I don't lose myself. Questions I still struggle with, if anyone's been here. Have you ever rebuilt a relationship after emotional trust was broken, and how did you know it was worth it? How do you reset something when the foundation was never strong to begin with? Thanks to everyone who commented on my earlier posts. Even the hard ones helped. Update again after Wednesday. Top comments. Commenter 1, there is one thing in your post that stands out more than anything else, the fact that her ex asked if your daughter might be his. That question doesn't come out of nowhere. It doesn't make any sense unless, at some point during your relationship, he had reason to believe there was even a possibility, meaning, some kind of sexual contact. No one who hasn't had intercourse with someone in years, and knows they haven't, asks if a child might be theirs. It's not a hypothetical that just randomly crosses someone's mind. And if it were totally unfounded, you'd expect her response to have been something like, "What the hell are you talking about?" That's not even possible. Instead, it sounds like she didn't shut it down that way. That's important. Because if she didn't react with confusion or outrage, it suggests the question wasn't absurd to her either. And that should make you pause. Here's why this matters. Either she crossed a line physically and hasn't admitted it, or at the very least, she allowed enough intimacy or ambiguity with her ex that he felt emboldened to ask. Neither of those scenarios align with full honesty, and both undermine the emotional safety you're trying to rebuild. Also, the fact that you maintained strict boundaries with your ex, and she didn't, isn't just a difference in style. It points to a difference in how each of you defines loyalty. That's not a small thing. That's core. If you're ever going to rebuild something, it will require total honesty, not just damage control. That means owning what actually happened, not just what can't be denied. I've seen relationships recover after affairs, but only when the person who broke trust lays everything bare, takes full ownership, and allows their partner to process it all without spin or evasion. That's the only way the foundation can be reset, on truth, not on more questions. Right now, it doesn't sound like she's there yet. Commenter 2, why would the question of paternity come up if there wasn't intercourse? Come on, don't be so naive. Commenter 3, excuse me, how old are you? She's been unfaithful to you since the beginning of your relationship. If it comes up, the father's doubt about his daughter, is it because you had intercourse during that time? Or is what I'm saying very silly? Is it just logical or not? Some advice, don't say she is or is being honest. She's lied to you throughout the relationship, since before you got married. If she tells you she doesn't know what she wants, it's because she still wants to be with him. Sending nude photos and hiding contact with him is infidelity. And please, don't justify her actions. Many people have problems and that doesn't mean they're unfaithful, even you. Honestly, because of the lie of a marriage you've lived, you should think carefully about whether she's a woman for life. Only 3 years together, and she's already been unfaithful to you. Imagine a few more years. You have to make a decision with your head, and what you want for your future. Good luck, if you're going to be a sad, doubting guy. If you stay, it's better to say goodbye. Stories number 21. Aita for getting mad at my GF for not telling her parents no. My girlfriend, 23, and I, 25, just bought a house. Brand new house. And within 2 months of living in it, she tells me that she told her parents they could live here practically rent-free until they get their own place, mind you. They are not just changing houses. They are being evicted. This is their second eviction in the last 7 years. All due to their poor financial decisions. They are both avid gamblers and other poor life choices. They both have an income that amounts to well over what they need to live off of. Yet they have always asked for money and never seem to have it. I told her that the only way they are going to learn is to tell them no, and she refuses to because they're her parents. I told her that she's enabling them to keep on with their bad habits and that I am willing to break up with her if she doesn't change her mindset on trying to help them this way. I understand that they are her parents, but I am not supporting them as if they are my children. Is this enough to leave someone over? We have been together almost 3 years. The house is in my name and I can afford everything solely by myself. I'll try to answer any questions that may arise if need be. Stories number 22. Creepy pizza delivery guy. So me and my boyfriend like going out dancing on the weekend, which always ends with us stumbling into our favorite pizza place before joining the taxi queue. We've done this most weekends for over a year now, so have become somewhat friendly with the guys who own the pizzeria. They know us by name and always make a big fuss over us and offer us discount every time. So he goes downstairs to answer the door and lo and behold it's one of the guys from the pizzeria holding 2 freshly cooked pizzas that we didn't order. He said not to tell the other guys at the shop, but they were a gift from him to us, his favorite customers. My boyfriend took them from him and thanked him, but we couldn't get back to sleep for hours. We just felt so odd about it. We have ordered from there once for a takeaway, so that's clearly how he got our address and my phone number, but it's still weird, right? Relevant comments. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Weird. I wonder if he thought you'd be home alone. Which is a scary thought. I had a weird pizza delivery encounter a couple years ago. I answered the door and he fidgeted longer than needed to hand me the pizza. He didn't say anything, but he gave me a weird feeling, and I even said it to my roommate when I came back in. Minutes later he requests me on Facebook, which creeped me the fuck out. I decided to Google his name and look at his dockets. I'm a nosy bitch anyway, but had to find out his deal, and the first search result is a news article about him impersonating a police officer and kidnapping someone. He had charges before that for harassment too. So now I'm a little paranoid. I think like a week later I'm pumping gas and I look over and he's at the red light just staring me down. Nothing further happened. I don't think he worked there that long. But I definitely should have said something to the pizza place, because someone with that record should not be a delivery driver. I'm not saying he shouldn't work, he can cook the pizza. But like he shouldn't have access to people's info and going to their homes. I would maybe let the manager know, or maybe your BF could talk to them. Either way I'd keep alert because he came after hours, who knows if he'll do it again. Reply. Wow, that's so creepy. I know what you mean about the weird feeling. You should always trust your gut. I'm glad nothing else untoward happened to you. They definitely shouldn't have someone like that be able to access customer information. I wonder how often these things get overlooked. It's a scary thought. My boyfriend is going to have a word with the manager next time we're in town. If it had been earlier in the day and he had said it was a cancelled order or something, it probably wouldn't have been so weird, but to be out so late and literally knock us awake just to give us 2 pizzas that we didn't order is so freaky. Commenter 2. That's very strange. It seems to be a very odd time to be delivering pizzas to your house. Maybe he thought you didn't live with your boyfriend. My guess is that he got off work and wanted to bring you the pizzas and was hoping that you would invite him in. He said not to tell the other guys at the shop seems suspicious as well. He knows that what he's doing isn't professional, so he's keeping his coworkers from finding out. I think you could call the manager and tell him what happened. That delivery guy shouldn't have access to your personal contact information and coming to your house late at night. I'm glad your boyfriend answered that door and you were safe upstairs. Reply. That's such a scary thought. He has delivered to our house before when I was alone, so it makes sense he was checking to see if I lived alone. That's pretty freaky. Commenter 3. Hopefully you didn't eat those pizzas either. You never know what he may have put on them. There was a news story in 2015 about a man who was repeatedly ejaculating into his female coworker's coffee because he was attracted to her. Beating on your door in the middle of the night and calling persistently shows the pizza guy is a wacko. I hope you tossed those pizzas in the trash bin. Reply. And yep, the pizzas went in the bin the next morning. Creepy pizza guy. So I thought I'd provide an update for everyone who wanted one. After the night the guy, I'll call him Bill for now, turned up at our house, me and my partner went out for drinks a couple weeks later and ended up in the pizza shop. We noticed immediately that Bill wasn't there, and I assumed that he was out on a delivery instead. Before we left though, the manager came out of the back and said hello, and then apologized profusely about Bill's behavior, and told us that he fired him. He was very thankful that we weren't boycotting the place, and I assured him we wouldn't because it really was the best pizza around. I'm not sure how the manager found out about Bill bringing the pizzas to our house, but I informed the manager about everything else that happened that night, how late it was, Bill calling my phone etc. And manager was furious to say the least. He assured us that he wouldn't be letting him work there again, and my partner and I went on our way and went home. A few months later, we moved house, unrelated to Bill, and never heard from him again. Until he showed up one night at our new house. He was delivering food for Uber Eats. I didn't want to take it further because we hadn't heard or seen him in months, so we just left it alone and went about our life. But then, about a month ago, I was going through my message requests on Facebook, and I saw that someone called Bill had been messaging me, or trying to, for months. I went into the messages and clicked his profile, and lo and behold, it was Creepy Bill. I blocked him immediately, and that was when I decided I'd report him on Uber Eats. So I filed a complaint about him, and I haven't heard anything since. But yeah. I've no idea how he found me on Facebook or how he knew my surname, but he did, and tried to message me for months. Stories number 23. Aita for hiding my cast iron pan from my roommate. I, 26M, live with my roommate Alex, 25M. For the most part we get along great, but we have a recurring issue in the kitchen. I'm really into cooking, and I've slowly bought some nice pieces of kitchen equipment for myself. My favorite thing is a cast iron skillet that I've spent ages seasoning and taking care of. It's kinda my baby. Alex keeps using it without asking. I wouldn't even mind that much if he knew how to clean it, but he treats it like any other nonstick pan. He'll leave it to soak in the sink overnight, use soap, or even use a metal scourer on it, which completely destroys the seasoning I've built up. I've explained to him probably 4 to 5 times how to care for it, and asked him to please just leave it alone if he can't remember. He always just says yeah, my bad, and then does the exact same thing a week later. Last week, I'd had enough. I found it in the sink again, soaking in soapy water with leftover pasta sauce in it. I was so pissed. I didn't even say anything to him this time. I just cleaned it, re-seasoned the whole thing, and now I just keep it in my bedroom when I'm not using it. Well, today he wanted to cook something and couldn't find it. He asked me where it was, and I told him honestly that I was keeping it in my room because he's proven he can't respect my property. He completely blew up, saying I was being a petty and childish asshole and that it's just a fucking pan. He's telling our mutual friends that I'm creating a hostile living environment over a piece of metal. Aita here. I feel like I gave him plenty of warnings. Stories number 24. Aita for leaving my mom to drown in work. I've worked with my mom since 2022. She owns a small business that made $60, $100K a year when I joined. I helped her grow it to $380,000 last year. I manage most of the business side and also do service work. About a year in, she offered to make me an equal partner. I said no. I want to move out of state and don't want to be tied down. Still, she defers to me a lot, especially with things she doesn't understand. Recently, she decided to reintroduce a service I strongly disagreed with. I don't hate the service itself, but when she and her husband offered it years ago, it led to them working past midnight, often needing my help, even when I had school early the next day. It turned me off the whole industry for years, despite being good at it and enjoying the work. She wanted to add the service again due to recent legal changes that could hurt the business. She sees this as future-proof. I partly agree, but I think it'll eventually be impacted too. I pushed for a pivot to a related but new area. It's slower growth, but healthier long-term. I told her the business is already disorganized and overwhelmed, and the new service is fast-paced and deadline-heavy. She agreed in theory, but said my idea wouldn't scale fast enough. When I kept pushing back, she pulled the "it's my business" card. I told her that's her right, but I wouldn't sacrifice my work-life balance again and would quit if forced to. We eventually agreed, if the new service required after-hours work, she'd handle it herself. That was 6 weeks ago. Since then, I've already stayed late once because she didn't know how to use the tech. She also asked me to stay late tomorrow for an unrelated deadline, and I agreed. Today, I finished my work early and said I'd clock out to offset overtime. She was clearly annoyed. Later, she texted saying she's overwhelmed from the new service. I didn't respond because I didn't know how to without saying I told you so. I feel bad. But I've warned her for years that the business is too disorganized and unsustainable. She always shut down suggestions because they'd require slowing down. Also, our history is complicated. She made big decisions when I was younger that negatively affected me. I've had to deal with trauma from some of them. I'm tired of paying the price for her choices. I'm exhausted and emotionally drained, and the same issues affecting the business are affecting my mental health too. She even suggested I take an extra day off, but there's always something urgent that comes up. Now she's overwhelmed, and I feel guilty. But I knew this would happen, and I don't want to be the fallback again. If I say yes once, it'll become the norm. So, Aita for not helping her now, even though I know she's drowning. Edit. We are planning to hire more staff. It's just been so busy these last 2 months that we haven't really had the time to advertise, let alone interview. Stories number 25. Aita for taking the blame for my girlfriend refusing to go to her half-brother's wedding. My girlfriend, 19F, of 3 years and I, 19M, live together. She doesn't have the easiest relationship with her family. She said she knows her parents love her but her half-brother, 29M, doesn't care for her and her parents like to push away the rejection and force them together. It's something she actually goes to therapy over because she feels really uncomfortable around him with how cold and cruel he can be to her. She told me before her mom can't accept one of her kids acting that way and her dad can't accept being hated by a kid he's raised since the age of 4. A few months ago my girlfriend's parents got invited to her half-brother's wedding but my girlfriend didn't get an invite. She was upset for a while. It wasn't unexpected but it was how she knew there was no chance that he'd ever change his mind if they were both independent from their mom and her dad and he still wanted her excluded from his wedding. Her parents asked her about being invited when she said she wasn't. Her mom basically got on her half-brother's case about not inviting my girlfriend. He said he didn't want her there and he didn't want her dad there either but he wanted his mom there so he was willing to tolerate my girlfriend's dad. It took over 3 months to get him to agree to let her come but their mom got her way but my girlfriend didn't want to go and then her parents were insisting she had to go. When I could see it got too much for her I told them I made plans for us that day and we couldn't make it and I didn't want her to go since I wasn't invited. It's a lie but I wanted to take the heat off her and they bought it. They're pissed at me which is fine. My girlfriend told me she hated that I felt I had to but I told her I don't mind, which I don't. She's still working on everything in therapy and I know this stuff doesn't happen overnight. Her half-brother's reaction to the news was thank fuck so we know he's not upset and that only pissed her parents off more. They told me I should understand that the relationship will never improve if I keep her from big moments like this and why would he come to our wedding when she didn't come to his. I think it's so crazy to think he'd even accept the invite if we invited him, which we wouldn't. They still don't know I'm taking the blame via a lie. And I think they'd be even more pissed if they knew. Aita. Stories number 26. Girlfriend of 4 years won't have intercourse with me anymore, been an ongoing issue and she says it's my fault. Where to go from here? Basically some more details, we have been living together for the last 3 years and her, 29F, intercourse drive has been slowly going away. The first 6 months was amazing intercourse, dates, communication, and such as the first pink cloud stage of relationships typically go. However, she had never initiated. Over the last 2 years it's been not great and I'm honestly scared to take it further and don't know what to do. I 28M, have a high intercourse drive. I feel so much better about us when we have intercourse but recently it's been once maybe twice per month and the quality has also gone down. I've brought it up to her 3 times over the last 2 years and the argument has gone like this. I tell her I'm having a need that's not being met and frustrated, she responds by saying that if I took her on more dates, if I grew my hair out, if I did this or that, she will want to have intercourse more. So the first time this happened, I did just that. Dates, hang out with friends, go out, everything she asks for but still no improvement. So I bring it up again today and she has the same response saying that I need to do more things for her to make her feel more connected to me and the whole convo revolves around her needs and what I can do to improve and earn intercourse. I'm scared this isn't a long-term solution and I'm also scared because I've attempted to do these things for her over the last year and it gets me nothing. When we do have intercourse, it's not great because it feels like a chore for her. She says she feels too much pressure which honestly I believe, but then how do we compromise? I love this girl but I'm constantly frustrated, upset and in a bad mood from consistent rejection. I'm thinking of ending it but I'm also not sure if I'm only seeing it from my side and being selfish. Stories number 27. Apparently I'm wrong for the way I buy my groceries. I, 29F, moved into a new apartment about a year ago and I have a roommate, 55-ish M, who's been a major thorn in my side since moving in. I really don't know what his problem is. There are some people who suspect he acts like this because he likes me romantically. EW. Total EW. I don't have a problem with age gaps in relationships usually but a 20+ year age gap. That's a bit too much for me. I, however, think it's because he's a control freak, jerk. I've got many many examples of how he's a mean control freak, whom I'm going to call CF for control freak. If y'all are interested in some stories, I'll tell you. But for now though, I'm going to start off with a smaller instance. Just to give you all a taste of things to come, this was shortly after I had moved in. I did my grocery shopping at Albertsons. That store was the closest grocery store to my apartment and I honestly loved shopping there and still do. You can get hecka good deals on stuff. One day, after coming home with a few armloads of grocery bags, CF noticed and asked me how I got them. I said I bought them at Albertsons. He got all huffy and said I should get my groceries from this delivery service he uses instead. I honest to God don't know why he cared so much to this day. He worded things like it was a suggestion. I told him I'd keep it in mind and went about my day. I am the type of person who likes to go to stores. Actually walking around the stores, selecting my own items and getting a chance to save money. I find grocery stores to be more convenient. Well, a week later, I went shopping and arrived home with a few armloads of groceries. Once more, CF was there and asked me how I got them and I told him I went to the store. CF was silent for a moment before he demanded I give him my phone and debit card. He said he was going to sign me up for the delivery service he uses whether I like it or not. He only left me alone after I told him my card wouldn't have enough money on it for the delivery service at that moment. He rolled his eyes and before he went back to his room, he said you'd have enough money if you didn't spend all your money at Albertsons. I just put away my groceries in silence and then went to my room and played Mortal Kombat 11 for a few hours. I still can't figure out why he even cared so much to this day. That's just one of many stories. If y'all are interested in any more of them, let me know. Kisses. Have a nice day. Stories number 28. AITJ for refusing to give my sister money for her wedding after she uninvited me. So my sister, 28F, is getting married in October and I, 25M, was supposed to be a groomsman. We've always been close or at least I thought we were. Last month she calls me crying saying her fiancé thinks I'm too immature for the wedding party because I made some jokes at their engagement party about how he looks like a discount Ryan Reynolds. I wasn't trying to be mean. Everyone was laughing including him at first. But apparently his feelings got hurt and now I'm uninvited from the wedding party. Not even invited as a guest anymore. Here's the thing, I already promised her $2,000 towards the wedding costs because our parents can't afford much. She's been texting me non-stop asking when I'm sending the money. I told her if I'm not good enough for her wedding then my money isn't either. My mom is furious with me saying I'm being petty and that weddings are stressful. But why should I pay for a wedding I can't even attend? My sister is calling me selfish and saying I'm ruining her special day. Am I being a jerk here or do I have a point? TLDR, sister uninvited me from her wedding after I made jokes about her fiancé, now expects me to still give her $2,000 for wedding costs. Stories number 29. AITJ for refusing to let my brother bring his new girlfriend to family dinner after what she said about my wife. I, 32M, host family dinners twice a month at my house. My brother Dave, 29M, recently started dating this girl Monica, 26F, and brought her to dinner last time. Everything seemed fine until my wife, 31F, went to the kitchen and Monica made a comment to the table about how my wife seems tired all the time and maybe she should try getting more exercise. For context, my wife has been dealing with chronic fatigue for the past year while doctors try to figure out what's wrong. She's been really self-conscious about it and has actually been pushing herself too hard trying to seem normal around people. When I told Dave what Monica said, he brushed it off saying she was just trying to be helpful and didn't know about the health issues. He said I was being too sensitive and that Monica didn't mean anything by it. I told him Monica isn't invited to this weekend's dinner. Dave got angry and said I was being unwelcoming and that Monica feels bad about the misunderstanding. He's threatening to skip dinner entirely if she can't come. My parents are now involved saying I should give Monica another chance and that family dinners are supposed to be inclusive. They think I'm overreacting and creating unnecessary drama. But honestly, I don't want someone in my house who makes thoughtless comments about my wife's appearance, especially when she's already struggling. Dave says I'm being controlling and ruining his relationship. TLDR, brother's new girlfriend made insensitive comment about my chronically ill wife, I banned her from family dinner, now family says I'm overreacting. Stories number 30. My mom demanded I cancel my wedding because she didn't approve of the venue that she wasn't paying for. I 27F am getting married next month to my amazing fiancé 29M. We have been planning this for almost a year. My mom, however, has had a problem with every single decision I have made. First, she didn't like the dress because it wasn't traditional enough. Then she complained about the guest list because I didn't invite her cousin who I literally haven't seen in 15 years. But the final straw came last week. We chose a beautiful outdoor venue at a garden estate. It's peaceful, elegant, and very us. When I told my mom, she lost it. "You're seriously going to make people sit outside like they're in a field? That's so low class." "I'm embarrassed for you." I calmly explained that it's what I and my fiancé want, and that we are covering the cost. Her response: "Then I won't come. And neither will anyone from our family. In fact, if you don't change it, I think you should just cancel the whole wedding. It's already a mess." She has been telling relatives that I'm disrespecting her as my mother. A few of them are actually taking her side. I'm honestly heartbroken but also exhausted. I'm starting to realize this day might not be about making her happy, and that's okay. Stories number 31. I fixed a stranger's flat tire and got invited to his daughter's wedding. A couple of weeks ago, I was driving home from work when I noticed an older man pulled over on the shoulder with a flat tire. It was drizzling, and he looked like he was struggling, so I pulled over and offered to help. He was relieved. Turns out he didn't have the strength anymore to loosen the bolts himself. I got soaked and a bit muddy, but we got the spare on in about 15 minutes. He thanked me over and over, insisted on giving me some cash, which I politely declined, and we went our separate ways. A few days later, I got a handwritten letter in the mail. I honestly didn't even know people still did that. He'd somehow found my address, probably from our quick chat and my work badge, and wrote the kindest thank you note. But here's the kicker: at the end of the letter, he said, "You reminded me that good people still exist. My daughter is getting married next month, and I'd be honored if you'd attend." I almost didn't go, but something about it felt right. So I showed up, took a seat in the back row, and watched a genuinely beautiful ceremony. He introduced me to his whole family, and I ended up staying for the reception. I didn't know a single person there, but it didn't matter. They treated me like one of their own. Weird how one small act of kindness turned into one of the most unexpectedly heartwarming days I've had in a long time. Life surprises you sometimes. Stories number 32. AITJ for not covering my coworker's shift when she had a family emergency that turned out to be a concert. I, 28M, work at a restaurant, and my coworker Jessica, 23F, asked me to cover her Saturday night shift because of a family emergency. I had plans with my girlfriend, but Jessica seemed really upset and said it was urgent, so I agreed. Saturday night was brutal, we were slammed and I worked a double shift. Sunday morning I'm scrolling Instagram and see Jessica's story from the night before. She was at a Harry Styles concert with her friends, posting videos and clearly having a great time. I was furious. I confronted her Monday and she got defensive, saying her cousin had an extra ticket and she needed to de-stress after her family drama. When I asked what the emergency was, she said her parents were fighting and she couldn't handle being home. I told her that wasn't an emergency and she basically lied to get me to cover her shift. She said I was being unsympathetic and that I don't understand her family situation. Other coworkers are now taking sides. My manager found out and is making Jessica pay me back for the shift, but she's telling everyone I'm a snitch who got her in trouble. Some people agree with me, others think I should have minded my own business since I already worked the shift. I feel like I was manipulated into giving up my weekend for her concert, but maybe I should have just let it go. She's young and maybe I'm being too harsh. TLDR, covered coworker's shift for family emergency that was actually a concert, called her out. Now workplace is divided on whether I was right. Stories number 33. Want me to question things? Watch me question everything. So I work with the most frustrating woman I have ever encountered. We're both managers within the company, but she continuously treats me like she's my boss and keeps track of what my team does, often commenting on things that has nothing to do with her. She tries to tell me how to feedback to my team, telling me how to pull them up on errors she perceives. She's told me I cannot speak to clients one-on-one despite the clients wanting to speak to me. She recently told me I'm not a writer when I queried a part of a project, but I am a writer. That's how I got the job. However, our teams collaborate all day, so I can't just ignore her. Recently there was an issue where a note for a specific project was missed. It was missed by her team, and when it got to my team we assumed that because it was approved by her team we were good to go. Apparently that was completely my fault and I should know better. No accountability for the fact her team approved it and didn't flag it. She told me I had to flag such things in future. Okay, I'll flag every single thing. Every single note that comes across with a project I am questioning. Everything she's asking me to do, I am questioning. I must waste so much of my own time sending back random questions, but if it's winding her up, I will continue doing it until the end of time. Stories number 34. AITJ for pulling my financial support from my sister's wedding after she uninvited my daughter. My sister Chloe, 32F, is getting married in 6 months. She's always wanted a big, fancy wedding, and since I, 34F, make decent money, I offered to help cover a big chunk of the catering. She was super grateful and excited. My 7-year daughter, Lily, was even gonna be the flower girl. We already started looking at dresses. Then last week, Chloe calls me, not to talk plans, but to say she's now doing a child-free wedding. I was shocked and asked about Lily, and she straight up said Lily's a bit too energetic and she wanted a more serene vibe. She even suggested I hire a babysitter so Lily could watch from afar. Yeah, seriously, I told her if my daughter isn't welcome, then neither is my money. I offered support under the assumption my kid, aka immediate fam, was part of the day. Chloe lost it, said I'm selfish and ruining her dream day over a tiny thing. Now our parents are guilt-tripping me and saying I'm the asshole for going back on my promise. So, AITJ for pulling my financial support. Stories number 35. I accidentally told my boss's kid Santa wasn't real, and it turned into the weirdest promotion of my life. Drama. So, this happened last December and it still feels like a fever dream. I, 26M, work in a mid-sized marketing firm. I'm lowish on the ladder, not an intern, but definitely not a corner office guy. Around the holidays, the company throws this super fancy Christmas party at the CEO's house. He's very into family culture, so we all show up with spouses, kids, dogs, emotional baggage, etc. Now, I don't have kids. I barely have matching socks most days. But I love Christmas, and I'm decent with kids. So when my boss, let's call him Mike, asked me to help watch over the kid area while the adults got wine drunk on spiced Cabernet, I was like, sure. Free cookies and no small talk about quarterly reports. Count me in. I'm helping a group of kids decorate sugar cookies when this little boy, maybe 6 or 7, looks up at me and goes, "Do you think Santa's really real?" I didn't even think. Not for a second. I said, "Nah, but it's fun to pretend, right?" Just like that. Friendly tone, dumb grin, sprinkle-covered fingers. This kid's face drops like I told him his goldfish died again. Full-on trembling lip. I immediately realize I have made a terrible, career-altering mistake. Guess who the kid was? Mike's son, of course. 10 minutes later, I'm summoned. Not by HR, not by my manager. By Mike himself. I'm picturing my career in flames. Me, jobless in January, selling feet pics to pay rent. But instead, he sits me down, deadpan serious, and says, "You told my son the truth." Nobody in this company tells the truth. They all smile and nod and fake believe in Santa. You just blurt it out. You don't overthink. I like that. I'm sitting there, stunned. He continues, "I need someone like that on the innovation team. We're pitching bold ideas this year." No BS. Long story short, I got promoted. Literally because I ruined a kid's Christmas. Mike later told me his son was already suspicious, and I just accelerated the timeline. His wife was apparently furious for a week. Now I'm on a team I never thought I'd be on, because I killed Santa. Every time I walk into a meeting, my coworkers whisper Saint Nick Slayer under their breath. Anyway. That's the story of how I accidentally grinched my way up the corporate ladder. Life's weird. Stories number 36. Am I wrong for questioning my whole relationship after I found out my 27F, BF, 30M, was pocketing my rent money? I'm moving out. I got approved for an apartment this weekend and am excited to have the space to gain my own perspective and clarity. We're staying together for now and we'll see how it goes when I move out. I think he's seeing it as an opportunity for me to regret moving out and come back to him, but I want it to be an opportunity for him to get his life together and build a life with me. I'm aware it's unlikely things work out how I'm hoping, but I think whether we break up or stay together, moving out is my best next step. Thank you to everyone who gave advice and validated how I was feeling. It's a weird situation, and after a lot of therapy and thinking, I'm okay with the fact that I don't have to keep playing a game with rules I don't understand. Original post: we've been together 5 years. We live on a property my boyfriend's dad is renting. His mom and dad live in one house on the property and we live on the other. When we moved in, he told us the rent was $1,600 for the house, so $800 each for my BF and I. A steal, I know. However, I just found out that my BF and his dad came to an agreement at the start of the lease last spring that his dad, would pay our rent in full, and that the money I pay my BF for rent, I had presumed, pass along to his dad for rent, my BF could keep. He said they wanted to help him out by paying his rent and his car while he lived here with them, so this was how they thought to do it. I immediately felt betrayed for not being involved in knowing about this, but I also felt like it's a bit unethical because I wasn't aware of where my rent money was going. I had been suspicious for a while, but I finally had the courage to ask. He admitted it and my stomach sank. His first reaction was to be mad at me for being upset about it. His POV is that they didn't tell me because it's not my business since I'm paying rent regardless. Therefore, if his dad wants to give him $800 a month for his car and also pay his rent to help him, this is a less roundabout way of doing it. He just keeps the $800 I'm sending for rent. He said in essence, it isn't my money, since it's rent money, so I shouldn't care where it ends up. He also said his dad asked him to keep it between him and his parents, so he was put in a weird position. I can see how this logically makes sense, but I can't help but feel like I've been paying him $800 a month to keep without my knowledge. I'm not upset of his parents helping him, that is between them, and I don't want to have my rent covered either. I'm grateful for the cheap rent and believe I should be paying rent. It's just the dishonesty and the fact that he just transferred my rent money into his bank account without telling me for a year that feels so wrong to me. We split everything else equally, like groceries, utilities, and internet, except the occasional date night where he pays. I'm close with his family and frequently have them over for dinner, so it hurts that they all knew something I didn't. I have a full-time job and a side job. My BF is self-employed but doesn't make too much from that. I don't typically mind, but I would like us to be more open with each other about finances. I don't know how to move forward from this, even though I want to be understanding and kind to him because he says it's a nuanced situation and that I should know he isn't the type of person to steal from me. He's apologized for the dishonesty but still doesn't see the issue. The relationship hasn't been perfect, but it has been worth staying in for 5 years. I just don't know how to get rid of this gut feeling that this situation doesn't sit right with me. Plus, rent was due yesterday and I haven't paid him yet. Is this grounds for a breakup, or can we work through it? If so, how? Or is it truly none of my business? Any advice is so appreciated. Stories number 37. I, 20F, destroyed my rapist's, 17M at the time, car. Back in high school I, 17F, was in a relationship with a guy named Travis, 17M, I was with him for 18 months. During this time I become friends with his mates since my friend group had fallen apart at the time. 16 years old girls suck. All of his mates seemed to like me well enough and I tried to put in some effort to become good friends with them as that's what Travis wanted. One of his mates, Ryan, 17M, took a particular liking to me. He was the delinquent of the group, always getting in trouble and hardly attending school. We became closer friends as he was one of Travis's best friends. Travis was over the moon that we were getting along well. I was too. He seemed nice and gave off the misunderstood vibe. My God, how I was so fucking wrong. During second term of grade 12, I took a sick day. Ryan texted me to ask where I was and I said I was at home. He then asked me if I could come pick him up from school as he wanted to ditch. I thought nothing of it. He does it all the time and he lived close to me, so I didn't mind taking him home. Once I picked him up he asked to come back to my house, and I thought this was a good opportunity for us to become better friends, so I took him to my house. Once we got back to my house I walked him into my room. It was like a switch flipped in him. Suddenly I was pinned to the bed and he was ripping at my clothes. I just froze. Not fight, no flight, just utterly frozen. I thought if I didn't move he'd stop. He didn't. I can still smell him to this day and it makes me fucking sick. Then I drove him home like nothing had happened. I don't know why, I just wanted him gone as soon as possible. I told Travis and he at first didn't believe me, but after some convincing he realized I wasn't lying. His friends on the other hand though took the side of Ryan. This made me fucking pissed and I stopped talking to them altogether. Travis stayed by my side but spent time with his mates at lunch at not me. Now, as any girl would do, I remembered where Ryan lived. And one night I went over to his house at like 2 in the morning with a bottle of spray paint and a crowbar. I then spray painted rapist on the side of his car and smashed his windows and popped 3 of his tires. I then scrambled home and cried my eyes out. This gave me a euphoric sense of relief that he was getting the justice he deserved. He fucking loved that car and I destroyed thousands of dollars of work with my bare hands. His friends to this day still don't believe what he did to me. And probably never will. Check your mates, boys, you never know if your best mate is a monster or not.